Here at the Mass State Lottery, we're known for our monster wins. But there's no bigger win than the $1 billion we provide each year to support all 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. In our game, we know that supporting local businesses and helping communities is how we all win. Because at the lottery, we're all playing for the home team. The Mass State Lottery. Welcome to the state of winning.
Well, it's the 10th game of the Cape League summer, and there's already some deja vu here at McKeon Park as the Brewster Whitecaps visit the Hyannis Harbor Hawks for the second time in 9 days. The Caps surged to a 6-0 start this summer, including with a win over these Harbor Hawks a couple of days ago, but Brewster looks to shake a 3-game slide entering today. Meanwhile, Hyannis is trending in the opposite direction as the Hawks search for a 4th straight victory. Let's see which streak breaks first here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. Well, folks, how lucky are we? Welcome back into the booth here at McKeon Park. Giovanni Collada alongside Max Schwartzberg and Graham Nash, as always, ahead of Hyannis against Brewster. Graham, it's another hot one on the Cape today. The feels like it's 90 degrees. And speaking of, the Harbor Hawks are red hot of late. The catalyst for that success, folks, is formidable hitting in the first few innings.
It is, and it is hot. It is unbelievable. No AC in this booth, so we're sweating already a little bit. Hopefully it'll cool down for us, but maybe not these bats, because you're right, they have been unbelievable. The early inning success has helped them tremendously. In 4 of the last 5 games, they've scored at least 1 run in the first inning. That is unbelievable. And then in 5 of the last 7 games, they've scored at least 1 run in the first 2 innings. I mean, we talked to Mitch Carricker a little bit earlier, not today, but earlier in the week, and asked him, are you going for this ambush tactic? What's going on here? And he was like, no, this is just kind of how the cookie's crumbling for us right now. And I mean, it's apparently a crumble cookie. It's a darn good one for this team because they're having so much success off of it.
The success started yesterday. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead at Guff Fuller Field in Falmouth. Didn't relinquish the lead en route to a 5-2 win. And Max, the Whitecaps, on the other hand, struggling a little bit. They did get the 3-2 win against Hyannis here on June 16th. That's last Monday, folks. But they come into this game on a 3-game slide.
Well, it comes down to sloppy baseball, Gio. How about 7 errors committed by the Whitecaps in the last 2 games alone? They're now second in the Cape League in most errors committed, but it doesn't just stop there. The offense has not been firing on all cylinders as of late. How about an 0 for 15 from the first 4 hitters last night in a loss to Cotuit, one of the bottom feeders of the Cape League? And you also take into account 4 runs scored in the last 3 games during this losing streak. That's not going to get it done.
It's second in the East, Brewster, versus first in the West, Hyannis. I caught up with Hyannis skipper Mitch Carricker pregame. Welcome you Diamond Side here at McKeon Park. Hyannis off a 4-game win streak hosts Brewster for a second time in 9 days. Giovanni Collada with manager Mitch Carricker here, Coach. I want to start with last night, the win at Falmouth. That's up to 4-0-1 on the road. What's contributing to the success away from home this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're just playing good. I don't know, it doesn't really matter where we're at. I feel like we're playing some pretty good baseball the last week, and so hopefully we can carry that into tonight.
And it's a Brewster team that you saw very recently. We saw this with Wareham earlier last week. What's the adjustment you make when you see a team for a second time so early?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good. I mean, obviously their record shows it. They've gotten off to a great start, and so I'm looking forward to a bounce-back effort against them tonight.
I caught up with Coach Cagliano pregame, and he mentioned that infield defense for both sides tonight would be a theme to watch. On Hyannis' side, what are you looking for to clean up in the infield?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just taking care of the baseball, right? Not giving them any free outs. I think we have really tremendous players out there. It's just time to trust their skills and go after it and stay aggressive on the defensive side of things. And I think whoever plays the cleanest defense in this game has the best chance to win.
I want to highlight one of your infielders, Ryan McKay. He now leads the league in average. Approach at the plate has been stellar recently. What's working for him?
Well, he's comfortable hitting the balls at all parts of the field, right? And, the way these guys pitch, you have to be able to do that. You can't just be one-sided. And so his success really comes from, like you said, a really good approach and be able to hit the ball wherever it's pitched.
And you've got a couple of catchers in the lineup tonight. It's the first time you started both Vaughn Lackey and Brody Briggs. For what went into that decision?
Vaughn is moving on to Team USA after this, so I wanted to get him one more set of at-bats. And then it's Brody's turn to catch, and Stone Lawless is now in, so it kind of gives us that flexibility that we have a backup catcher, just, knock on wood, something happens. But I think both guys do a really good job. Vaughn, I think his approach at the plate is really good. He just hasn't gotten the results that he's wanted, so hopefully he can bust loose today.
Hoping he does too, Coach. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Guys? Well, Graham, success for the Harbor Hawks has coincided with success at the plate for Ryan McKay.
Oh my goodness, Ryan McKay has been unbelievable. 3 for 3 last time here at McKeon Park against Chatham. Also drew a walk. And then yesterday, he started 0-2. We thought he was kind of slowing down, and he said, guys, I'm fine. He went 3 for 3 after that, finished the game 3 for 5, an unbelievable showing. He's also been really solid in the field, out at second base, and he's leading off today like he did yesterday for Hyannis and Mitch Carricker. They are loving his ability to get on base right now.
And Max, for the first time all season long, both catchers that began the season on the squad are in the lineup today in Vaughn Lackey and Brody Briggs. What Coach elaborated on it a little bit, but what do you see behind that decision?
Well, from a baseball perspective, Gio, it all comes down to consistent ABs. It's tough when you're not in the lineup every single day. You can't get in the flow of things. You can't feel your groove. And Coach Carricker, especially with Vaughn Lackey going to go to Team USA in a little bit, wants him to get those more consistent at-bats to really find his swing, because we know this guy is a dang good baseball player, and he's going to come out to play and be a big asset for Team USA and the Harbor Hawks.
One of this team's biggest assets is UCF Knight Andrew Williamson. Our Ava Fernandez caught up with him pregame.
Ava Fernandez here with Andrew Williamson from UCF. And Andrew, yesterday you came in during the 5th for Jake Schaffner when he got injured. What was the mindset kind of when you got thrown into the game like that?
Yeah, that was kind of unexpected, obviously, with the injury happening. But, something that I was able to, I had to learn how to do my freshman year of college. So, it was something that thankfully I was used to, but definitely still on the fly.
Yeah, and when you came into the game like that, what was kind of the motivation like at the plate? You came off with a home run. Was the same motivation there?
I mean, it was just kind of just do a job, obviously, not having at bats kind of coming in there fresh with not, getting work before with the heat. But, yeah, kind of trying to do my job, depending on what the situation was, like always kind of.
Yeah, and Coach Rich said that you have a really good hair routine, and he said that you love your shampoo and conditioner. Can you tell us more about your hair routine?
Yeah, I try to take care of it, I guess, but yeah.
All right, well, have a great game. Hopefully your hair stays fine.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Ava. Harbor Hawks baseball coming up next.
Central Florida, number 13, Andrew Williams.
I think, Dean, they're allowing you to find your own success and your own true independence.
Dean is a whole group of all different kinds of people and communities.
Since I've come to Dean, I've learned a lot of time management skills.
Our community is especially tight-knit, and the majority of our students live on campus. And you are guaranteed 4 years of housing while you attend Dean.
Dean is just full of opportunities for you to embrace, to welcome, so you can change yourself to who you want to be and form your career for the future.
So go through that, all right? Think that way.
Be a bulldog. Have a bulldog mentality in everything you do in life, whether you're playing sports or in the classroom or just socializing around campus.
When it comes to delicious food, the best place to start is with great appliances. And Cam Appliances is your one-stop shop for any budget with brands like Thermador, Viking, Bosch, GE, and so much more. Cam Appliances, sales, delivery, installation, and service in the heart of your home with locations in Hyannis, Nantucket, and Hanover.
Just mere moments away from first pitch at McKeon Park between Hyannis and Brewster on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. Let's meet the Whitecaps lineup as they'll be up in the top half of the first inning. For Jamie Shevchik, it's Manny Marin leading off. Dalton Wentz in the 2-hole. Daniel Cuvée, the power-hitting righty, batting third. It's Blake Sear in the cleanup spot. Carson Kurse, Alex Sosa, Colton Coates, followed up by Ty Head and Adam Magpock. A notable couple of omissions from this lineup, Graham. First, the one you see on the screen in Josiah Ragsdale, out of the lineup for the first time this season. The league's leader in a bunch of categories, including being second in average behind Hyannis' Ryan McKay. The other one is Carson Tinney, a first-team All-American at Notre Dame. He's in the transfer portal, but out of the lineup today for Jamie Shevchik.
Yeah, a couple of question marks there. Not exactly sure why. I mean, obviously it seems like Coach maybe just wanting to give his guys some breaks, might make sure that they can stay sharp come middle of the season, but still, these are guys that are used to playing pretty long college seasons, so it feels like that they can play, like they probably could, but to keep them sharp and to keep them in best form, they need a break every now and again.
Absolutely, and Graham, you mentioned Ragsdale's omission from the lineup. He's first in the Cape Cod Baseball League, in RBIs. He's second in hits. He's third in OPS at 981. Second to McKay and average, just incredible numbers for the Boston College Eagle, eager to get drafted come July. And let's look at the defensive alignment for the Harbor Hawks as they take the field. From left to right, it's Jason Walk, Matt Mira, and Andrew Williamson in the outfield. Across the infield, left to right, Ray Velasquez at third. Charlie Bates moves down from left field to shortstop, while Ryan McKay, the red-hot second baseman, Miles Bailey in his usual post at first base. Both catchers in the lineups, Max, as we talked about pregame. Brody Briggs, the battery for Hyannis pitching tonight, while Vaughn Lackey gets a chance to only focus on his at-bats as DH. And there you see Briggs warming up. It's Brett Landman atop the bump for Mitch Carricker tonight. The lefty out of Abilene Christian making a second start tonight. Landman, the former Western Athletic Conference Freshman of the Year, but also the Pitcher of the Year as a freshman in 2024. Just incredible stuff from the 6'5", 236-pound rising junior, a native of Fairview, Texas. And Graham, in that season, 3.48 ERA, 16 games, 15 of them were starts across 72 innings. He rung up 79 batters.
Yeah, he's a great hurler, a great lefty to have come up and kind of switch things up, especially now that Hyannis has lost a couple of their heavy-hitting left-handers, some to USA Baseball most notably, but Landman, he can go anywhere between 3 to 6 innings. That's what sticks out to me. He went 3 in the start at Bourne. Kind of surprising. Felt like he had a little bit more in the tank, a little bit more to give, but you don't want to tire these guys out. It comes back to why we're seeing so many good players rest on Brewster's side, but Landman, he's got really good stuff. That fastball is phenomenal when it can find the zone. I think that's going to be his go-to pitch.
And you saw that final line from June 19th against Bourne. That was this past Thursday. Started the game at Doran Park, stretched for 3 innings, 3 hits, and the 5 strikeouts, Max. Strikeouts, a figure we continue to come back to here when we talk about the Harbor Hawks. They're second in the Cape League with 102 strikeouts. Just one of 2 teams that has struck out over 100 batters, and last night they delivered another 12.
Well, absolutely, and that's just the firepower that we like to talk about, and that's prevalent all throughout the Cape League. You know, these guys have swing and miss stuff. It all comes to commanding the baseball. And, of course, where there's smoke, there's fire. And they're able to make a big impact.
And speaking of fire, we mentioned the heat pregame. Feels like 90 degrees as we approach first pitch at McKeon Park. It's Manny Marin, the shortstop, to lead things off for Brewster. Righty switch righty for Jamie Shevchik and the Whitecaps. First in the West, first second in the East. Here's Landman. First ball finds the inside part of the zone. First pitch comes a minute late at 6:01. A beautiful day despite the high humidity and heat. Infield shifts the righty slightly to push. And he's quickly down 0-2.
And Marin, he has struggled in this season so far in the summer, making his 4th appearance for Brewster, 0-9 at the plate over those 3 games. So he's really looking to jumpstart something here in McKeon Park.
And Landman rings him up in 3 pitches. For a guy that struck out 79 batters as a freshman at Abilene Christian, he turned in 84 a spring ago, and he's got his first of another outing on Cape Cod, one down in the first.
Well, that has got to feel so good because the first time that he pitched at Bourne, Landman allowed that big hit to Peyton Bonds, the ground rule double that looked like a home run from our vantage angle.
And first pitch to Dalton Wentz, skied into left and walk quickly, makes a second out.
But 5 different Braves came up to the plate in that first inning. It was not a quick one from Landman, which could have played into why he only pitched 3. So for both Landman and Mitch Carricker to get these 2 quick outs, that has got to be such a good sign for him in this start, and hoping that he can go a little bit longer than 3.
A quick start yesterday as well against Falmouth for Hyannis starter Thomas Crabtree. Faced 1 above the minimum. And Daniel Cuvée takes a first pitch low. Cuvée, a first-team All-American as a sophomore at Miami. Listen to these numbers, folks. 372 average in 61 games, 84 hits. As he chops one to third, it gets by Velasquez and Bates across the diamond. He throws Bailey off the bag, and Cuvée reaches.
Well, it's really a tough play for Charlie Bates. Impressive that he got to it as we take another look. Look at how far he is. The momentum going against the grain. Probably would have been safe even if the throw was on line. Most definitely will be an infield single.
Cuvée stole just 6 bases last year for the Hurricanes, so not tremendously fast, but he legged it out, Max, and as you said, was likely in regardless of the throw from Bates. And to close the book on his stats from last year, 18 home runs, 84 RBIs in 61 games. Here's Blake Sear, the cleanup man. Swings through a fastball. He's got Cuvée aboard at first, as Brewster looks to work off a 3-2 win it captured on June 16th here at McKeon Park. Just one of 2 losses for the Harbor Hawks this season. And Landman quickly ahead.
And that single's got to be so refreshing for the Whitecaps. Their first 4, as we mentioned at the top of the show, 0 for 15 yesterday. And it's just something like that. You know, you could be hitting the ball hard, don't get it to fall, then you get an infield hit just like right there.
Indeed scored a single for Daniel Cuvée. 0-2 shades inside. And Sear gets one back. Sear, a junior at Florida and a native of Windermere in Sunshine State. Scored a run last game with a double. No RBIs and a K. 1-2 is lifted left, and it is just on the line. It is a fair ball. Sear takes the turnaround first. Here comes Cuvée from third. He gets the wave, chugging into the plate, and he is safe. A ball from Blake Sear that just paints the third base line and bounces into the corner. Quickly, the Whitecaps ahead 1-0.
Hyannis says that they missed third base, and they appealed, and the umpire said no go, but Harbor Hawks dug out very frustrated about that call.
It brings Cuvée around on the opening walk dished by Hyannis pitching tonight. And Landman quickly has a run against his register, Graham.
It looked like Jason Walkover in left thought that it was surely going to curl foul. He was kind of trotting after it instead of going dead sprint. And from our vantage point, it did look like it was going to go foul, but it just managed to stay in. There's no wind, so it's not like it got the help from that. But yeah, Landman, he probably thought that he was going to lock back into that last at bat as well. And after 2 quick outs, this is not what he wanted to see.
Carson Curse at the dish. Blake Sear at second. The first ball from Landman just high at the letters. Credit Sear with the RBI double. It's RBI number 4 of this young Cape League summer. Played in 7 games thus far for the Whitecaps. Has the man on second base. Breaking ball finds the inner corner. And for Carson Curse to follow him up, this is a player second on the Whitecaps in RBIs this season through just 6 games. He's got 5 runs batted in. And Landman trying to work out of trouble. Breaking ball, drifts in, and he's a strike away.
This start has got to be so refreshing for Brewster, who, Max, like you said in the intro, was 0 for 15 for, was it their top 3, top 4?
4.
Top 4. So to go single-double or the last 2 in the top 4. That's got to feel great.
Swing and a miss. Landman shakes the tough start, but Brewster tags the Hyannis starter for 1. We head to the bottom of the first here at McKeon.
Your future begins at Dean College.
Make a difference.
Leave your mark.
Break the mold.
Be a leader.
Achieve unimagined heights.
Believe in yourself. Make lifelong friends.
This is your time.
Your place.
Your home. Your Dean.
It all starts here at Dean College.
Bottom half of the first inning here in Hyannis. The Whitecaps jump out to a 1-0 lead, and here's who the Harbor Hawks will send to the plate to try and get it back. It's the red-hot Ryan McKay leading off for the second time today. Top mark in the league in batting average at .375. Matthew Mura returns to the lineup and bats second. Miles Bailey moves up from 4 to 3. Ray Velasquez from 5 up to 4. Andrew Williamson, after coming in for Jake Schaffner yesterday, when he was hit by a pitch, comes in at the 5 spot. Mentioned both catchers in the lineup today. Von Lackey DHs for the first time this summer here for Hyannis. The shortstop Charlie Bates was in left field yesterday. He is between second and third today. Brody Briggs back at the battery, batting 8th, and Jason Walk in the 9 spot for a second consecutive day at max after a great day for Jason Walk, in which he roped 2 singles in the last 2 at-bats.
And I really like the way that Walk turned the page, because against Chatham, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, comes back, has an excellent day at the plate, gets hit from the right side, gets a hit from the left side, and it just shows you the maturity of these hitters. A guy like Walk just able to turn the page in such an emotional game.
And there you see Jacob Dudan, the sophomore from NC State, already pitched in a couple of games this year for the Brewster Whitecaps. Just a 1 ERA through 9 innings. A couple of walks, and the 7 Ks. His last game on June 20th against Bourne, he stretched 5 innings, did not allow a run, with just 4 hits and a couple of strikeouts, in a 14-0 win for the Whitecaps. Up comes Ryan McKay to start things off. And Graham, there's being hot at the plate, and then there's what McKay has done. 3 for 3 on Sunday against Chatham. Starts 0 for 2 yesterday, but then brings it around for 3 straight hits.
Yeah, Ryan McKay has been unbelievable. He's on a 5-game hit streak, 13-game on-base streak that stretches back to his time at Michigan State. He is on an absolute tear, like you said, and hasn't showed signs of slowing down.
He's ahead 1-0 here. He taps this down the third base line. On it, Blake Sear, and it drops into the corner for a base hit. McKay stretches for 2. He jogs into second standing up. Just a couple of pitches and an early base runner for Hyannis.
Well, what a piece of hitting from Ryan McKay. An elevated fastball that is such a mature thing to do. Take it the other way. And how about the pop? That ball carried very well to the opposite field, right down the line. Ryan McKay, pound for pound, he's got light tower power.
For each Harbor Hawks home run hit this season here at McKeon Park, $50 is donated to the Family Pantry of Cape Cod by Monomoy Real Estate and Construction and Pretty Picky Properties Select Vacation Rentals. Pretty Picky and Monomoy, the team with everything you need to hit a real estate home run on Cape Cod. So 1 batter and 1 base runner for Matt Mura, and he's down quickly 0-1. He sat out yesterday against Falmouth, last played against Chatham on Sunday. One of his worst days of the past couple, 1 for 5 with a double. And I say that because in the Bourne game past Thursday, 3 for 4 with a double, a walk, a run batted in, and a stolen base. It earned him Codball Player of the Day, an elusive title to get, but one that a couple of Harbor Hawks have received this year.
Yeah, very well deserved. Matt Mura went on a tear in the middle of that last week. And I mean, I mentioned Ryan McKay's impressive 13-game on-base streak, but how about Matt Mura 28 game on base streak, stretching back to his last season at Hawaii. He is unbelievable at just getting on base. It seems like he's so reliable at just getting himself over to first.
He dodges out of the way of a fastball from Dudan. A year for Mura where he played more games than he has at any point of his career at 55. 72 hits, second on the team for Hawaii, 35 runs batted in, just 20 strikeouts. He's ahead 2-1 here. Swings through a slider from Dudan, 2-2.
Kind of changed his mind in the middle of that swing. You could see him slow up right away, and that just shows you how tight the break is with the right-on-right movement. And that low and outside slider, one of the difficult pitches right on right.
That slider tops at 87 for Dudan. He uses it 71% of the time. He brings it out here, and he rings Mura up. So finally, or rather, not finally, but Dudan gets his first out of the start. He's got McKay aboard at second for Miles Bailey.
Mura not very happy with that last called strike. He wasn't happy with the very first pitch that he saw in a very similar location outside of the zone. We've talked about this all season long. It seems like the outside of the zone has been pretty generous for pitchers, but the inside, more hitter-friendly.
We saw a little bit of that at the top of the inning.
Bailey digs in for a first time today. He worked a couple of walks and singled yesterday. Swings through the first ball, chops at it. Bailey has struggled at times this season, but has also displayed the power at that he had at Florida State that earned him freshman All-America honors. Expectations were sky high for the touted recruit. Belted 19 home runs, and he launches this foul down the third base line.
I was really impressed with his eye yesterday specifically. Drew 2 walks in yesterday's game. Yes, he's got the power, but he'd been struggling with the strikeouts. Had at least 1 K in every start until last night. Did not strike out, drew those 2 walks. He still didn't get a hit, but still, to get himself on first, it's kind of like just putting the ball in play. It's giving yourself a chance.
0-2 is outside. Bailey, one of 4 Harbor Hawks, headed to Team USA baseball training camp next week. We'll join Chris Rembert and Trey Beard, who have already departed, as well as Vaughn Lackey, just announced yesterday. He's headed to Cary. He shakes inside, but it clips the inner corner. 2 Ks in a row for Jacob Dudan.
And that time, the inside of the zone a little bit generous. Of course, we're at a little bit of a slight angle, so not perfectly down the plate. But that's the first time really in a while, it feels like, that a strike 3 on the inside of the plate has been called. It's usually the outside that's been more generous for pitchers.
And Dudan has settled in nicely after the leadoff double from Ryan McKay. 2 outs, just him on board. Here's Ray Velasquez. That slider inside again. It catches the zone.
That's a really good front door pitch. You could see Velasquez get the hands up, almost as if he thought it was going to come far inside. Now he could tunnel that with the fastball or changeup on the inner half, except it won't come over the zone.
Dudan will also join those aforementioned Harbor Hawks at USA Baseball Training Camp as Velasquez dodges inside. Velasquez returned to the lineup after sitting out on Sunday against Chatham. One for 4 yesterday. He got the scoring started with a 2 RBI double that helped Hyannis jump out in front. 1-1. Shot down to the plate. And Dudan a strike away, Graham, from shaking a tumultuous start to this game.
Yeah, that leadoff double from McKay really looked like it was going to give Hyannis the start that we've seen from them in the first innings over 4 of the last 5 games. So for him to come back, strikeout, both looking, that is just phenomenal pitching. He has frozen Matt Mura and Miles Bailey, 2 really strong bats, trying to do the same to Ray Velasquez in the cleanup spot.
And Velasquez leaves the bat on the shoulder. Velasquez began this season out red hot. And through 5 games, he led the team in average at .389. Put together a 1.022 OPS. Also the team's leader in hits with 7. Since he's been overtaken in nearly every one of those categories. Deuce is wild, and he loads the count.
This is why he's so dangerous. He can work his way back into the count like nobody else. He's got a good eye. He hasn't walked too much. He did walk a lot in the beginning of the season, but the last 3 games, he hasn't drawn a walk. So he's trying to get back to that way and using his good eye.
And the average has dropped to 258 as well. Swings through the 3-2. And Dudan strikes out the side after allowing McKay to reach with the double. To the second we go here at McKeon Park, and it's 1-0 Brewster.
If you can dream it, if you can cruise in it, if you can summer in it, fish from it, or take it for a day at the beach, we can protect it. The Baldwin Group, protecting the possible.
There hasn't been a ton of training when it comes to bat speed or products for players to be able to train bat speed. You can improve your bat speed and reach your goals working 10 to 15 minutes a day on this a couple of times a week. That's a no-brainer for every player.
Cape Cod 5 is proud to be the official banking partner of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Cape Cod 5 offers a broad range of financial products and services tailored for every stage in your financial journey. Reach out to us. We're here to help.
Hey Harbor Hawks fans, did you know that the NAC Cape Cod is the official Light Up the Park sponsor of the Hyannis Harbor Hawks all season long? Thanks to the NAC, the lights at McKeon Park stay bright all summer as the future stars take the field. With 2 convenient locations in Orleans and Hyannis, the NAC is the perfect spot for a burger, taco, sandwich, and much more. Visit thenaccapecod.com to learn more or order online. Time for the top of the second at McKeon Park. Brett Landman got a strikeout in the first batter he faced. Walked Daniel Cuvée after forcing Dalton Wentz to a flyout. Blake Sear ropes a double down the third base line that just bounces on the baseline. And then a strikeout of Carson Kearse ends it, but not before the run comes across. And that's how we got to the 1-0 Brewster lead that the Whitecaps will start this second inning with. 6, 7, and 8 due up for Jamie Shevchik. To begin with the lefty catcher Alex Sosa. Graham, the first lefty, the rather natural lefty, in this lineup for Brewster.
Yeah, there aren't many lefties, only 2, but Brewster has those 2 switch hitters that can kind of play like those pseudo lefties, like you're kind of saying. They can go wherever they want. But kind of surprising, I feel like we've run into a lot of lefties early in this season. Hyannis has a very strong lefty hitting crew on their side. So Brewster, not with the same kind of organization. They're going with the righties.
Sosa catching in the spot of the battery for what normally would be Carson Tinney's spot. He takes a first pitch strike on the inside corner. Tinney, first-team All-American at Notre Dame. He's searching for a new school, or rather, not searching for a new school. An incoming transfer to Texas announced just a day ago. He is rewarded with a day off of sorts today. Imagine if he'll be called up later in the game. Landman quickly ahead. No balls and 2 strikes.
I was just going to say, this is a great battery between Sosa and Dudan, both of them at NC State.
Deep breath from Landman. Now he comes home. Sosa stays alive. At NC State, in 55 games played, Sosa started every last one behind the plate. 278 average, 55 hits to keep the symmetry up, 10 home runs and 40 RBIs. Did what a catcher is supposed to do, hit for power and be good at defense. 0-2. Skips into Brody Briggs. And speaking of battery mates, Graham, it's been catching by committee this year for Mitch Carricker and Hyannis. But tonight, both catchers are in the lineup, with Von Lackey DHing and Briggs catching for Hyannis pitching.
And Brody Briggs has done a really good job behind the plate. He calls a really good game. He is good for a lot of pitchers. We've seen some pitchers have really successful starts with him behind the dish.
Sosa doing a nice job plate protecting here.
But Mitch Carricker really wants the bat of Von Lackey, something we talked about earlier before the game. He just hasn't quite had it, so they want to get him into a groove, see if they can squeak a really good appearance out of him before he goes to USA Baseball like we're talking about. But having the advantage of Brody Briggs behind the plate, who's such a good defensive catcher, and then also being able to insert the really good bat of Von Lackey as a DH is just a luxury for Carricker.
1-2, fouled right back to us. And Max for Briggs, he's looking to complement Lackey as he tries to surge ahead at the plate. These are great opportunities for him to, yes, develop it as the defensive catcher like he's used to, but also to get those reps at the dish. He had to sit behind graduate catcher Josiah Cromwick at ASU. And so this opportunity is transcendent for him as he goes back to the Sun Devils next year. 1-2, just misses the corner.
And for Briggs, you know, obviously off to a tough start at the plate this summer, just the .067 average, 1 for 15. But in that last game against Chatham, last time we saw him, he put the ball in play very prominently, had a lot of good swings, and just nothing to show for it. And that's just the game of baseball for you. So he's got to take his wins where they are and keep confident.
Inside on Sosa. He did not go around on the check swing. It loads the count. Briggs was 0 for 4 against Chatham this past Sunday. Lackey is 0 of his last 12. A couple of catchers looking to find their stuff after a long time off from college baseball. Full count payoff from Landman. Is lifted into right center. Back to the wall, Williamson. He's on the track, and he calls off his center fielder for out number 1. A long fly out for Alex Sosa to start things off, and we saw Landman fight back in a count where he went down quick.
Yeah, it was a really long at bat. Landman, like you said, was up 0-2, and then all of a sudden, Sosa just started fouling off a couple pitches. He drew a couple of those balls high in the zone, saw a pitch that he liked, and gave it a ride over to right field, but with no wind. It is dead still today. With no wind, it is going to be so difficult for these players to get it over the wall.
First pitch to Colton Coates is a strike on the inner half. We saw on Sunday against Chatham, Graham, that wind take an inverse direction to where it normally blows. Comes off right field where the Hyannis Marina is. 0-1 deal is sorted towards first. Bailey with the backhand trying to beat out Coates. He slides into the bag, and he is safe. So the third baseman, Colton Coates, one of 2 players on this Whitecap roster with a 900 or higher OPS entering the day, aboard at first as he legs out an infield single.
Just one of those balls in no man's land, and it's not like he didn't get off the mound quick enough. That was just right in the correct spot, and Coates able to leg it out.
And also, Max, it looked like Landman slipped. He released it, turned, and when his back foot or his front foot planted, it kind of skidded on him, so he couldn't get a good push off and try to beat the runner. He just kind of slipped with his cleats.
His first play there, and he being Bailey's, likely to toss to his pitcher who's got a better angle, Graham, as you said. Here's a first ball to the center fielder, Ty Head. But Bailey made an incredible diving play between the first and second base bags. It's tough to get that transfer out with the backhand.
It is, and everyone here on this Hyannis team is going to love the effort shown from Bailey to not just quit on the play, but to try and leg it out, slide, put the body on the line in the top of the second inning. That's rare for a guy who's as talented and as good of a hitter as he is. Sometimes those players want to preserve themselves for the plate, but he was giving it his all going to first.
Bailey's played in all 9 games, and when he has started outside of DH, he's been at first base. 2-0. In the dirt, and Landman quickly down in this count.
This is a very important pitch for Landman. You don't want to fall behind 3-0, but you also can't leave one too far over the plate. You know he's got the green light here.
Head the freshman at NC State. Works a walk, shakes his head in the process. 2 aboard for the Whitecaps against Landman.
That was the first at bat that we've seen where Landman has gone behind, or at least that far behind, where it was 2-0, 3-0, and he just couldn't quite find the zone. That's where I would have been expecting to see the fastball pinpointed right down the heart, but I guess he was scared to give Head something to really hit and give him a really good look, because he still tried to paint the corner a little bit.
Landman's allowed 2 walks and 2 hits today. And here's Adam Magpok. Squares to bunt. Briggs pops out of his crouch as both the runners had healthy leads with the infield in. Magpok played at Boston College this past spring. He's in search of a new home as he entered the transfer portal late last week. Just 4 appearances for the Whitecaps this year, a 1-for-7 register at the plate. Shows bunt again and chops it straight to Landman. He's got the out at first, but it's station to station for Coates and Ty Head. And now a couple of runners in scoring position for Brewster with 2 outs.
And Colton Coates, the runner now over at third, was pretty much halfway in between second and third base by the time the ball was released from Landman's hand. He was so quickly going over to third. I was shocked because Briggs, he's got pop, so he totally could have come out of his squat and gunned him down. But really good job from Magpok to make sure he got the bat on the ball so that it was a pretty easy move from second to third.
Manny Marin takes a first ball inside as Brewster's flipped the order just 2 innings into this game. And he'll try to make Landman pay again after Marin struck out in the first inning. Chopped towards Bates. Looks to end it. He does. Some damage for Landman in the form of Coates and Ty Head, but Magpok's sack bunt and Marin's ground out end it. To the bottom of the second we go. It's still 1-0 Caps.
You can make any bat feel lighter by adding a velo puck knob. Instead of having to go get a whole entirely new bat, you can simply add the puck to it. Players can use this with any bat. It's basically going to shift the weight of the bat a little bit more towards the hands. Players are able to hit the ball a lot harder just by simply adding the puck on.
Here at the Mass State Lottery, we're known for our monster wins. But there's no bigger win than the $1 billion we provide each year to support all 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. In our game, we know that supporting local businesses and helping communities is how we all win. Because at the lottery, we're all playing for the home team. The Mass State Lottery. Welcome to the state of winning.
We're quickly to the bottom of the second at McKeon Park, and it's time to play Who's That Harbor Hawk on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. So we got a 2012 alum of the Harbor Hawks, New Mexico Aggie. Actually, that may be New Mexico State. He played for the Twins, the Rangers, and currently on the Seattle Mariners. It's certainly not Cal Raleigh if he only belted 4 home runs here in 2012. Actually, it might, who knows? Might be. I don't want to make anyone guess. You can play along with us. Tweet us at HarborHawks to play Who's That Harbor Hawks. Graham and Max, any early thoughts?
It's definitely not Cal Raleigh. Let's just put it at that.
I have no more thoughts.
I'm not sure.
Well, Cal Raleigh's put together an incredible season.
32 home runs.
First catcher to do so before the All-Star break. The big dumper, they call him.
First switch hitter to hit 30 before the All-Star break as well.
Incredible.
Stealing the MVP from Judge, Gio.
In the bottom of the second, here on Cape Cod at McKeon Park, it's Andrew Williamson to begin things off for Mitch Carricker after Jacob Dudan faced 1 above the minimum in the first frame for Brewster. Williamson will look to avoid a similar fate for his teammates at the plate when they stranded Ryan McKay after a leadoff double with 3 straight strikeouts from Dudan. Williamson takes outside. Williamson, a UCF Knight and a native of St. Petersburg, Florida, has played in the last 3 games for Hyannis after skipping a day after the Bourne game here against Wareham last Friday. Takes 2-0 outside, and Sosa initiates a mound visit.
And Williamson wasn't supposed to play yesterday. He was not in the starting lineup, but had to come in after Jake Schaffner got hit by a pitch. So he said in that pregame interview that we saw with our sideline reporter, Ava Fernandez, that he admitted, he was like, I was kind of shocked, wasn't expecting it, but he was in that position a lot as a freshman. He had to come in for some players. He didn't start a lot, so he was used to it. It wasn't too hard, and his first plate appearance, he drew a walk.
Grounded out after that. But at UCF that first year, Graham, didn't start a lot, but ended up playing in 50 games. And had 39 hits with 5 home runs. And this past year for the Knights, led UCF with 13 home runs and was second with 53 RBIs. He's assumed the role of a leader, and when I caught up with bench coach Rich Cogliano pregame, as Williamson goes ahead 3-0, he said that Williamson is one of many Harbor Hawks that has assumed that early leadership position. And always a theme of teams here on the Cape. They're going to gel early, but there will always be a couple of guys that emerge as leaders. And Williamson works a 4-pitch walk to begin the second.
Well, it's an interesting split. 18 of the 30 players on this team are underclassmen, more position players than pitchers. 7 of the 13 position players are underclassmen. So for the dugout, it's pretty much, if you think logistically about upperclassmen assuming that role of pseudo-captain, there's not really a large selection of upperclassmen that it could be. Williamson, not necessarily walking into the role, but it probably wasn't too difficult for him to establish himself and for other upperclassmen to establish themselves as those leaders because there are so many underclassmen.
Von Lackey takes a first pitch strike. A rising junior at Georgia Tech, recently invited to Team USA baseball training camp in Cary, North Carolina, joining a couple of his Harbor Hawks teammates. Check over at first. Williamson just back in time. The tag applied by Dalton Wentz for Brewster.
And going back to the leadership point, some guys just develop that, as they're growing up playing baseball, especially once you get to high school. Guys just look up to you. It doesn't really matter what class you are. If you play the game of baseball the way Williamson does, guys are going to look up to you, and he's really assumed that role for a while.
He leads off at first and now has to scamper back as it's thrown over the head of Dalton Wentz. Williamson steams around second base but stops midway through the base paths. Ball collected from Brewster, and that will keep him at bay, but he does advance a base on as Dudan throws it away.
And Mitch Carricker over at third base was originally giving Williamson the wave, saying, come over to third. And then the second he actually got over the bag, Carricker threw his hands up and was yelling stop, and so he had to retreat, almost got back-picked there. And after Williamson stood safely on second, Carricker just tapped his jersey saying, my bad, dude, my bad.
Lackey levels the count. It's a second runner in scoring position in as many frames for Hyannis as McKay reached with a leadoff double. And for Lackey, it's been a difficult stretch of games here on the Cape at the plate. 0 for his last 12, going back to last Thursday's game against Bourne. We know how good Lackey is behind the dish, Max, as he's caught a runner stealing in 4 of the 5 games he's played in. Breaking ball drifts low. You don't be a Buster Posey Award semifinalist for the best catcher in Division I without having prowess defensively, but as Lackey's come here this summer, Max, it's been difficult for him to find anything hitting.
Yeah, and at the top of the show, a lot of guys don't respond well to not playing every day, and that's just the way it was early on in the season, especially knowing because they're going to be carrying a couple extra catchers.
Lackey goes ahead 3-1, no appeal.
And if you think about it from the perspective of the ball player, a guy like Lackey has not struggled a lot in his entire baseball career. Not to say that it hasn't happened before, but, at a high level like this, he's always been the best of the best. And now he's in a position where the last couple games, he's hitless. And this is a big opportunity for him to see how mentally sound he is. And I think he'll respond.
And he works a walk. Graham, that's got to be good for his confidence right away, an appearance to the base paths.
That's the first walk that he has drawn for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks this season, so I agree. That's got to feel great. Just his first trip over to first base as well in a while. The last time he got that trip was against Brewster here at home, so it has been a while for Von Lackey. That has got to feel so good just to know as well that he's seeing the ball a little bit better early in this game.
To put that in reference, folks, that game against Brewster here at McKeon Park was 9 days ago. A week plus for Lackey, who led all Power 4 catchers in hits with 77. And Charlie Bates takes a first pitch strike at the knees. And Bates is a player that's done just about everything for Hyannis this year. He's played in left field, at shortstop, at third base. He's even spent time at second. For Baseball America top 25 freshman coming into the spring is quickly down 0-2. Yesterday at Falmouth, he was 1 for 4 with a single and a run scored. And a difficult game in the field against Wareham here at home past Friday as he gets a ball back. Got 3 or 4 plays in a row, Max, at short in that 4th spot of a 5th inning for Wareham. And since then, from the field, he's been flawless.
Yeah, and that's just that turning the page mindset. And it's really good that didn't kind of get into his hitting at the plate. He still remained very strong.
Shoots this foul, and he was tagged for an error in that inning for Wareham. That's the last time Hyannis lost. Graham, we mentioned this pregame, that both of Hyannis' losses this year have come here at McKeon Park. An inverse trend from last year, where the Harbor Hawks 16-3 here at home, 8-9-2 on the road. This year, though, in 2025, it's 4-0-1 on the road and 2-2 here at home. 1-2 on the check swing, levels the count.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Not something that you see often early in a season. And, I mean, when you spoke to Mitch Carricker, his response was great. He was kind of like, I don't know why that's going on. I don't know why we're having so much success on the road. Just speaks to the game of baseball. Sometimes you just thrive in different ballparks.
Swings to the 2-2. Strike 3, as it's the 4th strikeout already for Jacob Dudan of Brewster. And there's one away here in the 2nd.
Changed the eye level right there, and a couple pitches prior he was staying down in the zone. So Bates that entire at bat, not seeing anything elevated. And I'm telling you, as a hitter, anything close to your eye level, of course that's high, but it looks so good, your eyes get big.
To close the book on on the odd trend for Hyannis to start this season in road versus home games, Coach Carricker, Graham, would have a point in saying that it's not anything from a game plan perspective because they've averaged a very similar amount of runs here at home versus on the road. It's 6 runs per game on the road with multiple games over 7 runs, 3 to be specific. 475 here at home, and Brody Briggs is quickly down 0-1.
It's baseball. It's so wild. I mean, you never really know what's going to happen in a given game in this sport. For Hyannis on a 3-game win streak, to have those early wins on the road has got to feel great going into the middle parts of the season.
Briggs down 0-2. This is a Hyannis team that's first in the Cape League in on-base percentage, stolen bases, runs, walks, and RBIs. Second on the pitching end in strikeouts. One of 2 teams with 100 or more batters punched out. YD's got 103 to lead the league. And Briggs lifts this into right center field. Head calls off MacPock. The throw down to third, or rather short, will keep Williamson at bay at second base. 2 outs here in the 2nd.
And it was just a little too shallow in center field for Williamson to get a comfortable tag over to third base. I thought he was going to give it a try, but Ty Head in center, he's got a pretty good arm and showed it. He launched one anyway into the infield, and Manny Marin caught it off, tried for the back pick over at second. So probably a good thing that Hyannis did not try and send Williamson, but unfortunate for Briggs that he couldn't get that productive out that he was looking for.
So here's the switch-hitting Jason Walk. Got here ahead of the Bourne game on June 19th, this past Thursday. Put together his best game for the Harbor Hawks a night ago against Falmouth, as he takes a first pitch on the outer corner for a strike. 2 for 3, a pair of singles in his final 2 at-bats. He scores a run all the way from second base, shows off the speed, and worked a walk in his only other plate appearance. And he sends this over the head of Marin, drops it into shallow left field. That'll bring Williamson around for the tying run. Play at second, not in time, as Lackey stays safe, and Hyannis ties it up here in the 2nd inning.
That is now 2 consecutive games that Walk has singled off a fielder's glove, and that is no air, ladies and gentlemen. A very tough play at shortstop from Marin, and this game's tied.
He singled in 3 of his last 4 plate appearances. We'll see how it's scored, but you'd imagine, based on the height of that ball from Jason Walk, that it'd be a single. And indeed it is. Flip the order now for Hyannis, and up comes Ryan McKay. It's a great situation for Mitch Carricker to have his hottest hitter entering the game at the plate, having just tied the game, but he swings through the first ball. McKay doubled in the inaugural at-bat of the game, but was stranded after 3 consecutive strikeouts from Matt Mira, Miles Bailey, and Ray Velasquez. He's got Vaughn Lackey on second, Jason Walk, who just brought the run across, on first. And the 0-1 is skied into shallow left. The shortstop Marin calls off Coates and gloves the third and final out. The Harbor Hawks get one back against Dudan. It's an RBI single from Jason Walk that's leveled this game, headed to the third.
Get ready for big results with our small machines. With more power, performance, comfort, and savings, they are ready for every job. And we're ready with plenty of inventory, the best support in the business, same-day parts availability, and locations across the Northeast. So you can always be ready to work. Milton Cat, always ready.
If you can dream it, if you can cruise in it, if you can summer in it, fish from it, or take it for a day at the beach, we can protect it. The Baldwin Group, protecting the possible.
Time for the top of the third here at Judy Walden Scarafile Field at McKeon Park. Time for the Cape League standings. It's Hyannis atop the West Division, one of 3 teams in the Cape League with 6 wins. Identical record for YD to lead the East. As this Brewster Whitecaps team started out 6-0, has dropped each of its last 3 consecutive games. Chatham and Cotuit rounding out each division with just a pair of wins on the register. Still early, but Hyannis had a similar start to this past season. In fact, so similar, Graham, that it was almost identical. At one point in the year, they led the West Division 6-2-1 off of a 4-0 start with a eerily similar schedule.
Yeah, it was kind of unbelievable how similar the schedules were. They played Harwich their second game in a row. They tied Bourne this season. They tied Chatham on the road, but the difference is that they beat this Brewster team twice. Not only did they beat them twice, they smoked them twice. Beat them by, I believe, 7 runs the first time around and then 8 the second time. So Brewster actually got the win against Hyannis the first time these 2 teams played just 9 days ago. Now Hyannis looking to make the schedules a little bit more similar than they already are.
And keep it all the way going for 40 games to capture a second consecutive regular season West Division championship. Landman atop the mound for Hyannis. It's Dalton Wentz at the plate. And he is ahead 2-0. Wentz, the first baseman, flew out in the first inning and had himself a game last time the Brewster Whitecaps came here to McKeon Park on June 16th. Breaking ball misses for Landman. The top of the 5th in what was a 2-1 Hyannis lead. Wentz comes to the plate with a couple of BC guys along the base paths in Adam Macpock and Josiah Ragsdale and ropes a 2 RBI double for the go-ahead run, as Landman gets a first strike of the count. That ultimately sealed Brewster's 3-2 victory. Count full to Wentz, who enters the game with the Cape's longest active hit streak this summer, with Falmouth's Carl Schmidt, who the Harbor Hawks saw yesterday. He's the only one with as many this season. And Cade Lewis of Bourne began the summer with an 8-game hit streak. So Wentz looking to further his here to try and match that as he works a walk on a full count.
And Schmidt had a pretty good game yesterday. He was 2 for 5, struck out once. So he's continuing that hit streak. I'm sure that he's hoping he can do it again tonight, but Wentz at least continued the on-base streak. That arguably as important, if not more important, than the hit streak, because it shows that you can be a guy that can get yourself on base even though you don't have your best eye on a given day, even though you don't have your best swing on a given day.
And he's aboard with a second walk from Landman, and Daniel Cuvée is quickly down 0-1. Well, Cuvée, speaking of interesting stats in the first 9 games and change here on the Cape, He's just one of 2 players that has reached base in every game he's been in. Swords it back foul. 14 total bases this season for the first-team All-American. Only John LeGrand of Bourne has reached base in all 9 games so far. Cuvée did a whole lot of nothing last time out in the loss against Catuit. 3 at-bats, no hits, no runs, no walks, and a strikeout. Landman skips it in. Briggs snap throw to first. Not in time. Wen slides back in a nick of time as it's heads up throw from Brody Briggs to nearly snag the first out.
Well, the throw at least beat him by about 4 feet. I guess the tag didn't.
Miles Bailey a shade late, according to first base umpire J.B. Torres. 1-2 is high. Get that again. Max, what do you see?
Oh. I mean, I think he got him on the right forearm. I mean, Torres is right there. He's obviously got the better view than us. I guess we'll have to take his word for it. But at least from here, it looked like he got him.
It's a bang-bang play called in real time, and Landman picks up a 3rd strikeout of the day. He fans one of the most difficult hitters in the Brewster order in Cuvée, and that's the first out of the 3rd inning.
That's got to feel really good for Landman. You walk the leadoff hitter, got to lock back in with no outs on the scoreboard, and still early against a guy that got that infield single against you, the first hit of the ball game for the Caps, and he locks right back in, and like you said, strikes out one of the hardest guys to K up on this lineup.
Runner is off. Blake Sear lifts this high and deep to left field. Walk is on it, and he makes the second out quickly. Well, it was Sear who mashed that RBI double down the 3rd base line. Just a hair to the left, and he might have stayed in the box as it was so close to being foul. To the extent that Jason Walk made a late throw because he thought it was called a foul ball. And up comes Carson Kearse to keep the inning alive. First pitch misses from Landman. Go ahead.
And in a couple of the games, in the majority of the games that Hyannis has lost, it's been an error or just a mental slip that has cost them the game come the end of the 9 innings. So if Hyannis goes down, we might look back to that play as kind of the turntable.
Off goes the runner as this one is chopped past McKay. The runner blocks the second baseman from getting to the ball. Fielded in center. Mura cuts it off with McKay. That sends Wentz to 3rd, and it's a single for Carson Kearse.
Well, that was just a beautiful hit and run because as soon as the runner starts going, McKay cheats towards 2nd. Starts running, and that was right where he was standing before the runner began to go. So McKay was in perfect position to end this inning. It was just that runner just went at the perfect time, pulled the second baseman over to 2nd base, and gave a huge gap to Kearse to just block one right into that right side.
Yeah, perfectly executed hit and run.
So now a chance for a 2-out rally. It's Alex Sosa, the catcher, with runners on the corners and a pair out. And Landman throws the first ball away. I was about to say, Graham, that Landman had settled in so well, and he still does look settled in. He was able to manage it in the 1st inning after surrendering the run. And here it's a leadoff walk where after which he picks up a couple of outs before that single from Kearse. Infield with their heels on the outfield grass as this one is skied into center field. Mura is called off by Walk as he backs to the fence. He ends the inning. The Whitecaps strand a couple runners on the corners, and we will head to our sideline reporter, Ethan Wax. Brewster's ahead 1-0.
Thank you very much, Gio. After a night of quality pitching, especially from the Hawks bullpen, and timely hitting, Hyannis downs Falmouth 5-2. But let's focus on Michigan State Spartan Ryan McKay, who was 3 for 5 yesterday with 2 RBIs. He is now hitting .375 in 6 games played. McKay is 1st in the team in hits and 2nd in the team in average. Although he has played 1 fewer game than current leader Jackson Willits, he is 4th in all of the Cape League as well. McKay is 11th overall in the Cape League. He led the Spartans and ranked 24th in the Big Ten with a .319 average. He also led Michigan State and was tied for 5th in the Big Ten with 20 doubles. Additionally, he led the Spartans and ranked tied for 18th in the league in walks with 36 free passes. Now back to the booth for the bottom of the third. Guys?
Thank you very much, Ethan. On the aforementioned Ryan McKay, who's got us already with a double today, came into this game red hot, 6 of 8. And Graham, it's all come since dropping the puck on the bottom of this bat. We've spent a lot of time on this little add to the butt of the bat, folks, that McKay told us helped him not be late to a single pitch all summer long. Well, since he lost it a few days ago, he's ripped 5 singles. He gets another double here today, and he's 6 of 8 in that stretch.
Yeah, he was praising the puck a couple days ago, saying, like you said, he wasn't late to a single pitch, and he had a couple good showings. He was 1 for 3 against Harwich, 1 for 3 at Chatham, so he was getting opportunities. He was getting the bat on the ball, but the second that puck fell off at home against Wareham, things all started to change, and he said to me, he was like, I think that's just God telling me that I need to abandon the puck. And I checked back in with him today, and he said, yeah, I'm just going to thank the man above for that choice because it is serving me well, and that could not be more true. 3 for 3 with a walk against Chatham, 3 for 5 yesterday at Falmouth after starting 0 for 2. He is on an unbelievable hitting streak.
So Harbor Hawks fans, credit divine intervention for Ryan McKay's hot stretch at the plate. There's Jacob Dudan, or rather a new pitcher in Duncan Marston, as Jamie Shevchik goes to the bullpen early. Goes righty to righty. And we'll meet Marston here, a 6'3", 220-pound rising sophomore out of Wake Forest. He's appeared in just 2 games thus far for the Whitecaps and struggled. At 1 2/3, that ERA is at 10.8, as you see on your screen. Just 1 strikeout and the pair of walks in that outing against Falmouth. He only made it 2/3 of an inning, allowed 2 hits and 1 run. That's not where the shelling came. It came to the tune of 4 runs in his previous start against YD. First pitch to Matt Mura. Mura, the Rainbow Warrior, was the first strikeout of 4 for Jacob Dudan. The righty pulled from the game. And his line, after 2 innings of work, a couple of hits, just the 1 run allowed as Mura chaps this by the mound. It comes on from Curse. He throws over to first in time for the opening out of the 3rd inning. We'll finish the line there on Dudan. He gets those 4 strikeouts and looked awfully comfortable atop the mound.
Most certainly. He was really pumping the zone after he had a little bit of problems with those first 2 walks in the 2nd inning. Of course, the walk to Williamson and then the Lackey, but then he was able to find it once more.
So up comes Miles Bailey after Mura's a quick first out of the 3rd inning. Bailey also struck out in that opening frame of the game. Here's Marston. And Bailey lays off the low fastball. As we take a look at the pitch mix for Duncan Marston, that sinker at 94 miles per hour at its max speed. Used 69% of the time. It brings out the slider second most at 16%. And Bailey watches it dodge inside.
I think something just broke. I just don't hear anything.
Appeared in 8 games this year. Pitched to a 9.58 ERA. That not atypical of college baseball, where hitters tend to shell pitchers for a lot of runs, despite a lot of strikeouts. And Bailey accumulates a first strike of the count. Duncan Marston last pitched in the NCAA Regionals for Wake Forest against Miami of Ohio. In just 1 2/3 innings, it was 2 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, and 2 walks on 5 hits allowed to the Red Hawks. A guy that didn't make his debut in college until April 22nd against Liberty. native of just outside Los Angeles, who played for Harvard Westlake High School. 2-2. Drifts outside, and Bailey, who's shown incredible discipline as of late, lays off it. Bailey yesterday worked walks in each of his first 2 at-bats. A ground out and a fly out flanked that last walk and a single in the 9th. Shuffles away from the slider, and he's aboard with another walk.
Bailey's been pretty patient.
Marston's got to leave the mound for a moment. He's dropped his glove. His arm sleeve has fallen off of his right arm. And it's the pitching coach, Brian Del Rosso, out to receive it for Brewster. And now Marston will face Ray Velasquez, batting 5th tonight after he roped a 2 RBI double in the first inning of that win over Falmouth yesterday. Trying to spark a rally in a deadlocked game here in the 3rd inning. First pitch misses the letters. For Velasquez, we mentioned the hot start to the season. Through 5 games, he batted .389 with a team leading 7 hits and a 1.022 OPS. And since the stats have plummeted, he's now at .250 with a .368 OBP, or rather .712 OPS. Still respectable, but only 1 hit in the last 4 games was that double yesterday against Falmouth.
And that double is one of the few extra base hits we've been seeing from him since that slip.
Still a very effective hitter for Mitch Carricker. Breaking ball finds the outer corner for Marston. When it's not the slider for Duncan Marston, it's the changeup of the fastball. It tops at 95 according to the scout report, but it can reach 99. 3-1 the count of Velasquez. Trying to tag Brewster pitching for a 3rd walk in the last 2 frames after Jacob Dudan allowed the leadoff double to Ryan McKay, but sent the next 3 batters down, including Velasquez, down by the strikeout. And now the Austin P. Governor works a walk. 2 aboard for Andrew Williamson with just 1 out here in the 3rd. And Williamson got it started for Hyannis with the walk in that 2nd inning, and he was plated by Jason Walk's RBI single. Up to 4 walks for a Brewster Whitecat team that does this quite a bit. They're 5th in the league with 40 walks. Trailing Hyannis slightly, who's dealt 46 free passes. And Williamson shows bunt on the first ball. Williamson arguably the only 5-tool player on Hyannis' roster after a prolific spring at UCF. He's quickly down 0-2 here, but he hit 13 home runs, there's your power, a .352 average for the Knights, stole 14 bases, a perfect 100% fielding percentage as a freshman, .990 as a sophomore, 5 career outfield assists. There's all 5 tools, Max.
Absolutely, and it's just so impressive how guys are able to do it over an entire season worth of time. Obviously, we haven't seen quite all 5 tools here on the Cape. The power's been there, some of the speed, looking for that average. But we've talked about regression to the mean.
Here's a mound visit as the catcher, Alex Sosa, trots to the bump. Brief conversation between him, Duncan Marston, and home plate umpire Warren Nicholson. Brief ad at the end there as Sosa jogs back. Give Williamson a chance to take a breath mid-at-bat here. Is at one point in this Cape League season, Max, as you mentioned, the average has dwindled. Batting over 300 with the only home run of the summer in that first home game of the season on June 15th against Harwich. It's down to 185. The OPS still at 833. He swings through it for strike 3. How about a 5th punch-out of the day for the Brewster Whitecaps? And it's Williamson's first of the day, as well as Marston's.
And there's one of the bigger examples of why, it's not always there in terms of the average. If he's not able to consistently make contact with the ball. Sorry.
Vaughn Lackey approaches the dish. 2 on and 2 out. It's Velasquez at first and Miles Bailey at second. Breaking ball clips the outer third. And Lackey has struggled at the plate recently. Perhaps more than anybody on the team this season. He's 0 for his last 12. Marston levels the count. But for Georgia Tech, Max, he put together one of the better seasons by a catcher in recent memory. He led Power 4 catchers in hits, second highest batting average in the entire Power 4. Tied for first on Georgia Tech in hits with 77, and started 45 games at catcher. Played the final 10 at third. But here's the best part, is that he stole 18 bases in 21 attempts and only allowed 25 bags. 1-2. Sliced foul. And Lackey DHing today rather than playing catcher because we think it'll give him more of a chance, as Coach Carricker alluded to pregame, to focus on that approach at the plate that clearly hasn't been working for him.
Yeah, and some guys are different. Some guys don't like DHing, but Lackey, we haven't seen him DH much this season, so we'll have to wait and see. Some guys like having to get their mind off hitting.
He swings through it. The breaking ball fools Lackey as he's late to it, and Marston deals strikeouts on the last 2 batters he faces in relief of Jacob Dudan in the third. We go to the 4th here at McKeon Park.
When it comes to delicious food, the best place to start is with great appliances. And Cam Appliances is your one-stop shop for any budget with brands like Thermador, Viking, Bosch, GE, and so much more. Cam Appliances, sales, delivery, installation, and service in the heart of your home with locations in Hyannis, Nantucket, and Hanover.
If you need to dig, lift, move, grade, clear, or cut, pump, weld, clean, light, and just about anything else, dial up the rental source for the newest and the most reliable equipment in New England. Staffed with equipment and construction experts, Milton Rents, your local source.
A new arm atop the bump for Mitch Carricker as we begin the 4th here at McKeon Park. It's the Liberty Flame Tyler August. Going lefty from Brett Landman to righty in August. A rising junior out of Wilmington, Delaware. He started his college baseball career with the Blue Hens at the University of Delaware before transferring to Liberty in the Conference USA. 2-2 record at Liberty. 4 flat ERA in 19 games. This summer on the Cape, he took the loss at home against Wareham this past Friday. In just 1 1/3 innings pitched, he was shelled for 2 runs, both of them earned, just 2 strikeouts and a walk, but 6 hits allowed to a then surging Gateman team. This is a former Gatorade Delaware State Player of the Year in 2023 in high school at Wilmington HS. And he told us last week, Max, he told me, I don't know if you were there for this, but he took after Max Scherzer when learning to play and trying to kindle up some of the dual-eyed pitchers' stuff here.
Well, how about Max Scherzer longevity, durability? Obviously something very admirable to take after.
And August will try to replicate it here in his 3rd appearance of the summer. First batter he faces is Colton Coates, or rather Ty Head. takes it, or rather, no, it is Coates. The third baseman takes the first ball low. He's singled in the second after a first out from Alex Sosa. Was eventually stranded after back-to-back outs from Adam Macpock and Manny Marin. And he lifts this into center field. Mira barely moves for the first out.
That's what you love to see if you're a Harbor Hawks fan. Weak contact, and especially with the 2 walks. The final line on Landman, 3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. So walks, a little bit high in the 3-inning sample size, but if you can get consistent outs, that's what you love to see if you're Mitch Carricker and the rest of the squad.
Now it's Ty Head, the center fielder who walked in his last appearance to the plate. Again, moved to second before he was stranded. And August dishes a strike to start. August intended to sign with the Bourne Braves last summer, but for a reason undisclosed to us, never made it to Doran Park. And he's ahead 0-2. Had he signed with the Braves, he would have played in the Cape Cod Baseball League Championship, as it was later in the summer, and he intended to stay for the entire month of August after looking to join the Cape League at the end of July. He ended up playing 4 games with the Danville Otterbots in the Appalachian League last summer. And Head has leveled the count in each of the last 2 pitches.
Now it looks like a similar miss from August. The outer half, we saw him miss with the fastball, that time with the changeup. He's got to make that adjustment on the pitch-to-pitch basis to get back into this at-bat.
Shakes off the first sign from Brody Briggs, and Head taps this foul.
And he did it right there. He stayed on the outside corner, but was able to get it up in the strike zone.
Max, we've talked about this season how every umpire's zone is different. From your baseball experience as a hitter, how many at-bats does it take for you to adjust to the zone for that night?
Well, the good thing about that is it's not just your at-bats that you have to take into account. The whole team's talking about it. And, of course, you have to make the singular adjustment in your at-bat. But you're talking to the guys like, hey, he's wide on the left side. Coming inside, he might be a little bit lenient with it.
3-2 is smoked into right center field. Williamson watches it drop in front of him. A wide turnaround first for Ty Head, but he's kept at bay there off a strong relay to second base. And it's a 1-out single for Ty Head.
And you also ask your own pitcher, see how it's going, because usually umpires are going to be consistent on both sides, both teams. But I would say you should have a really good idea of it by your second at-bat, based on how your first at-bat went and talking to the guys on your team.
And here's Adam Macpock, the switch-hitting right fielder, who switches sides of the plate for this at-bat. There's a sac bunt in the second inning from the right side of the dish. Off goes the runner. Briggs springs out of his crouch, skips it into the shortstop Bates. The tag is late.
Kind of a bit of a delayed steal, not a full-on one, but that's a good idea with Macpock hitting left-handed. It shielded Briggs, and you could see when he caught that ball, and he's actually patting himself, saying, I'm sorry to his dugout, because he was framing it, trying to get the strike call. Didn't see the runner going. Delayed steal with the lefty shields the eyes of the catcher.
First stolen base of the night for Brewster, off a delayed throwdown from Brody Briggs. August levels the count. And to close the book on that point about the zone, Max, as you come up more so in games, you see select batters that are signaling to the dugout, here's the pitch tendencies. Will they ever do that with the strike zone?
Not usually. Just because, you don't want to anger the umpire.
Tapped off the mound, a diving Bates lets it go into center field. Head gets the wave, and he chugs into the home plate for a second Whitecap run of the game. And Brewster takes the lead off an RBI single from Adam Macpock.
Well, look at Charlie Bates right here. He kind of loses his footing right there. Had he not lost his footing immediately, he might not have had a play at first base, but that would have kept the ball in the infield. And if that ball stayed in the infield, runner does not score.
Still only 1 out in the inning as it flips the order for Manny Marin. Comes to the dish for a third time tonight. Breaking ball misses from August. Marin's 0 for 2 with a game-opening strikeout and a ground out in the second. Leading off for Brewster for the second consecutive night after the Whitecaps dropped their third in a row to Katuitt a night ago. He slices it foul, 1-1. This is a Brewster squad, Max, that's lost each of those last 3 games in resounding fashion. Blanked against YD on June 21st. They lose a couple of games 6-2 as the throwdown first is late to Katuitt in Orleans. Katuitt yesterday, Orleans a couple days before.
And this offensive drought, obviously until this game started, kind of didn't really see it coming because Brewster won the game before the 3-game losing streak 14-0.
2 touchdowns, 2 extra points for the Whitecaps. Fielding issues have plagued this Brewster roster. 8 errors in the last 3 games, 7 across the last 2. Throwdown is late from August. That's second most in the league. Only the Chatham Anglers have more at 15 errors. 10 different Whitecaps have committed an error this season. Off goes the runner, and he'll be in without a throw. I have to go do it again, though, as it's sliced foul by by Marin. Adam Macpock led BC in steals. 23 stolen bases in 27 attempts. His ex-BC teammate, as Macpock is in the transfer portal, Josiah Ragsdale, is a glaring omission from the lineup tonight as the right fielder for Brewster and for Boston College. Second in the league in average, and first on the Whitecaps in OPS. August nods away his sign. Now has it. Off goes Macpock. Briggs has the throw down. McKay's tag is late. A couple of singles in this inning from Brewster, a couple of stolen bases, and this time it's Adam Macpock.
Well, that was a good jump over there from Macpock, but a really strong throw from Briggs. If that ball was not a low and outside breaking ball, I would say that he had a good chance despite the good jump.
Loaded count to Marin as well. Golfed into center field. Mira treads back, flashes the leather, and makes the catch. He's going to attempt the throw down at first. Macpock off as the chuck in from center field takes Velasquez way off the bag, and he'll advance. A third run, 90 feet for Brewster after it was Macpock's RBI single that brought Ty Head home for a second run of the game. And now a meeting of the minds atop the bump between Brody Briggs and Tyler August.
And this is where you get to the dangerous part of the order. Dalton Wentz, Daniel Cuvée, Blake Sear. It's really important for August to put them away quickly because you don't want to get ducks in the pond for the big guns.
And Wentz, Cuvée, Sear, and then even Curse have all gotten themselves on first base somehow in this ball game. Wentz drew a walk, Cuvée singled, Sear doubled, and then Curse singled as well. So very dangerous, not only in general, like you said, Max, but also in this ball game.
Sear, one of 2 Whitecaps with an RBI today. An RBI double in the first inning that just teetered with that third base line and stayed fair. And here's the switch-hitting first baseman, Dalton Wentz. Macpock halfway to home. The throw down is well in time. Macpock caught along the base paths to quell the threat for Brewster. But the Whitecaps do take a 2-1 lead, and we go to the 5th here at McKeon.
This week we've been working a lot with doing play-by-plays, just doing behind-the-scenes stuff with sports broadcasting, which I never really realized how much went into it, but it's been really cool.
They've grown a lot. I've never really done like a program like this before, so like seeing all the behind-the-scenes have like really grown.
I've learned how to really just gain confidence in my play-by-play speaking, and I've learned more terms here when it comes to directing and producing, and I've just had a great time with John Rook.
Doing the play-by-play stuff and all that, being with a guy like John Rook, understanding what like the major kind of entails doing this camp, just really a preview for what you do here at Dean or any other college doing broadcasting, so I'm definitely more prepared to make this a job of mine.
Cape Cod 5 is proud to be the official banking partner of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Cape Cod 5 offers a broad range of financial products and services tailored for every stage in your financial journey. Reach out to us. We're here to help.
Time for the bottom of the fourth as the pie eating contest is just concluded here at McKeon Park. Try to get a look to see who it is. It appears it's Jake Schaffner. So he gets hit yesterday by a pitch, has to leave the game holding his left wrist. A wrap on it now, as you see Duncan Marston warming up, but it looks like Schaffner's picked it up with a win in the pie eating contest down the third base line. And here we get a stat comparison between Hyannis and Brewster. While Hyannis leads the league in a number of statistics, including some listed on this board, they're first in the league in average. Brewster only leads saves, in which a category, Graham, in which it's tied with Hyannis.
Saves are important. That is a very, very important category. It means you're playing close games, and it means you're winning close games. Those 1, 2, 3-run games, those can be the differentiating factor in a team's season and in team's confidence, because those are the ones that you really need to win come crunch time.
Hyannis leads the Cape League in on-base percentage, stolen bases, saves, runs, walks, and RBIs. Second to YD in strikeouts on the pitching end. It's 7-8-9 due up for Hyannis, beginning with the shortstop, Charlie Bates. You see just a strikeout there for Bates. Yesterday, roped a single into left field against Falmouth and was brought across in the sixth. It's the first batter to face Marston here in the fourth. Marston, a slow windup there, a slow pitch as well. 1-0. Bates put together a stellar freshman season for the Stanford Cardinal. In 25 games, it's a strike on the next deal from Duncan Marston. 24 hits in those appearances, just 1 home run, but 7 RBIs. He stole 5 bases in 5 attempts. Batted .270 for Stanford. He chops this to second. Curse turns and fires. There's 1 out.
Charlie Bates had a lot of good momentum there for a while, but it's just kind of like, I guess, lost a little bit of the magic. I don't know. He got 1 hit against Falmouth in yesterday's game, but was 0 for 4 at Katuitt. It was before then that he was really working well. 2 multi-hit performances at Chatham and then at home against Wareham. He just hasn't been seeing it quite the same way since that Katuitt game on the road.
And here's Brody Briggs. 0 for his last 5 going back to Sunday against Chatham here at McKeon Park when he was 0 for 4. A brief stoppage in play behind the plate as the catcher Alex Sosa will wipe away some of the dirt, it appears, by home plate. That average is low for Brody Briggs, Max, but not representative of what he's done for this Harbor Hawks team. He's been an excellent defensive force as a battery. It's quickly down 0-1.
Yeah, and I think that, Briggs, these pitchers really like throwing to him. You could tell that they're comfortable with him, and that's a testament to who he is as a catcher, because he's not behind the plate every single day, and they already have that level of comfortability with him.
He's also delivered in big moments at the plate. On June 17th at Chatham, a 7-7 tie, Briggs worked a crucial walk in the 9th inning with 2 outs, down 2 strikes in the count, extended the inning for Ryan McKay's game-tying E4. And he levels the count here against Duncan Marston.
He also had a big 2-run single that game, long at bat.
It's not like he's incapable of it. Briggs told me that sitting behind Josiah Cromwick at Arizona State was a difficult experience, but one he's grateful for. Slider misses inside for Marston. And now he'll enter his junior season for the Sun Devils as that starting catcher.
And it shows the maturity, Nobody likes sitting down, especially when you're playing, you're a starter all throughout your life, all throughout high school, and then...
And he works a walk here.
And then you go to college and you're not the everyday guy anymore, and you have an option. You can either be bitter about it and not use it to your advantage, or you can learn from it, take what you like from the guy who's starting above you, look to him as a leader, and then become a leader for other catchers who are going to be starting behind you and the other teammates on the squad. And the catchers, no matter what, in the game of baseball, they're always among the most respected players on the team because everybody knows how much they do for a pitching staff and for the entire organization.
I'll make the correction that Brody Briggs is a rising sophomore after just one season for the Sun Devils in 2025. Here's the switch hitting Jason Walk. First pitch strike from Marston. Walk singled in the second. It's the lone RBI of the evening for Hyannis. He drove an Andrew Williamson after a pair of walks led off the second inning. He chops this over the mound to second. Curse goes the short way for one. On to first in time. A twin killing for Brewster ends the fourth inning, and that maintains the Whitecap lead headed to the fifth here at McKeon.
When you need to dig, lift, move, cut, or just about anything else, then dial up the rental source staffed with equipment and construction experts. They'll help you get the right machine for the job and make sure it's delivered when and where you need it. With locations across New England and the newest and most reliable inventory, Milton Rents is your local source.
When I started teaching on the Cape 30 years ago, you could buy a house on a teacher's salary. But today, teachers, public safety officers, healthcare and hospitality workers, the people who make the Cape work, are struggling to find homes they can afford. And I really worry about the kids who will follow us. I think it's time we learn to do better.
If housing on Cape Cod matters to you, join us at capehousingmatters.org.
Top five at McKeon Park. It's still Tyler August atop the bump for Hyannis in relief of Brett Landman. The left-handed starter stretches 3 innings, 4 hits. The 1 run he allowed was earned, a couple of walks, and a trio of strikeouts as it's a 2-1 Whitecap lead entering the 5th frame. And Graham, thus far, Hyannis pitching has done a nice job of mitigating a powerful Brewster lineup.
Yeah, there have been a couple runs already for Brewster, but it could have been a whole lot worse. There could be a couple crooked numbers up there on the scoreboard. So I think you're exactly right. Brewster has already stranded 6 through 4 innings, so there is a lot of room for more. And still, guys like Brett Landman, guys like Tyler August were able to shut it down when they needed to the most.
And Hyannis manager Mitch Carricker said to me pregame that the team that plays the best infield defense tonight is going to be the one with the advantage and likely come out on top. Both teams have played pretty sound infield defense. No errors across the board. Well, just one error, on Brewster thus far.
Definitely, and the term defense wins championships is a truth because a Brewster team that was 6-0, we talked about it at the top of the show, then they commit 7 errors in the last 2 games, now second most in the Cape. What do you know? They're on a 3-game losing streak, and they lose to one of the worst teams in the league in Katuitt.
Brewster looking to reverse a trend in which errors have come at a premium for the Whitecaps. Dalton Wentz fouls the first pitch straight back. Wentz, the hottest hitter in this Brewster lineup and among the hottest on the Cape. He enters the game on the longest active hit streak in the league with 6 consecutive hits. Rather, games with a hit. And now he swings through a strike from Tyler August. Only Carl Schmidt of Falmouth has as many. Wentz stays alive. In his last game, he was a contributor in what was a 6-2 whitewashing of the Whitecaps from Katuitt for the Kettleers' second win of the season. Just 2 hits and an RBI for Wentz. And he taps this just by the mound. Bates charges, slings to first in time, 1 out.
That was so well done by Charlie Bates. He was already cheating a little bit over, so he was able to charge straight in, and then the sidearm. He was releasing that ball at 9 o'clock. It came in well at his waist. A very impressive throw from the shortstop.
It's like Aaron Rodgers a bit there.
Yeah.
Or Stanford legend Andrew Luck. As Bates, the starting shortstop for the Cardinals, just a freshman last year. And August dirts this one to Daniel Cuvée. Single in the first for Cuvée on the infield. Struck out in his last appearance in the third for the first team All-American. One of two on the Whitecaps roster, along with former Notre Dame catcher Carson Tinney. Cuvée skies this to shallow left. Backpedaling Bates calls off his center fielder, and he's made both outs here in this inning.
We talked about Bates having a couple fielding struggles the last time he was at shortstop here in McKeon Park. He looks comfortable and confident. He's got the mind of a goldfish, as we keep coming back to good old Ted Lasso.
He just keeps swimming, Graham.
He does. Swimming and thriving.
Although Dory would not be a goldfish. Tyler August skips the first pitch to Blake Sear. With an RBI double in the first inning, he flew out in his only other plate appearance thus far. And that goldfish mentality, Graham, has been so prevalent in the outfield at the plate for Hyannis. It seems to be the mentality at the forefront of this season for the Harbor Hawks. Win, lose, or draw, just keep going.
Yeah, it's been almost a theme of the year.
A 2-1 count to Blake Sear.
And the thing that first comes to my mind with this goldfish mentality is looking at how the leadoff batters have done for this team. It goes so back and forth. Add to it, they were 0 for 8 with a walk, and then their next game at home against Chatham, 4 for 7 with a walk. But yesterday, again, 0 for 9 with 3 strikeouts. It just kind of goes back and forth. You've got to have a short memory.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Sear. All 3 of those games, Graham, wins for Hyannis.
Yeah.
And those are the last 3 on the win streak for the Harbor Hawks that's got them atop the West Division. 2-2 is low and inside. Loads the count to Blake Sear. And perhaps the greatest example of that on a positive end, Graham, that largely negative with the amount of offers you just listed. 3-2 is a walk to Blake Sear as it skips in. So with 2 outs, a runner aboard for Brewster as it clings to a 2-1 lead. It feels like 5 or 6 different times this year, Graham, we've seen an outfielder, an infielder, a field player for Hyannis that's made a remarkable play. Andrew Williamson has done this. Jake Schaffner did it yesterday with a leaping grab at third base. And the right fielder Williamson made a robbery against Chatham on Sunday. But they've come to the plate and had to put that behind them. That's a positive thing that they're even taking into account, that it doesn't matter as long as what you do now. That's what's of utmost importance to Mitch Carricker this year. First pitch strike to Carson Curse. The walk to Sear, the third of the day for Hyannis pitching. And August levels the count.
And it was the first walk of the day for August. He's pitched pretty cleanly so far, allowed those 2 hits. And 1 run did score, but he's been finding the zone well.
Curse stays alive. The second baseman for Brewster singled in the third, but struck out to end the first inning against Brett Landman. One of 3 Ks for the Abilene Christian lefty. And now August a strike away from ending the top of the 5th. It's Sear on first base. Breaking ball misses. Deuce is wild. August misses inside to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. A Georgia boy through and through as a native of Marietta. He's played in 6 games this year for Brewster. Is 4 of 17 with 1 home run and is second on the Whitecaps with 5 RBI. 3-2, off goes the runner anyways. It's a walk. Station to station, Sear to second and to first for Carson Curse on back-to-back walks issued by Tyler August.
We saw the walk count increase a little bit more than usual for Hyannis in yesterday's game. Allowed 6 walks to Falmouth, and that gave the Commodores a really good second effort.
Here's Mitch Carricker out to the bump. No one warming in the bullpen for Hyannis, so no call imminent here. And August will try to work out of this jam he's worked himself into and get the game to the bottom half of the 5th inning for his bats to erase this 1-run deficit they face.
Well, throughout the last couple of nights, the strikeouts have been very high. So far, not too high, but the walks have been pretty prevalent too. Of course, as the season goes on, you'd hope that that gets cleaned up. But tonight, Hyannis just not really peppering the zone.
Well, the burden on Alex Sosa to make the 2-out rally count here for Brewster and extend its lead over Hyannis. Sosa's 0 for 2 thus far tonight with a pair of flyouts. And the lefty catcher is in the transfer portal out of NC State. He battery mates with his teammate for the Wolfpack, Jacob Dudan, before the righty was pulled in favor of Duncan Marston after 2 innings. And he takes the first pitch ball.
And he's going to try to do something that Hyannis hitting has not been able to do, and that is not strike out after 2 walks have been dished. That's happened twice for Hyannis hitting. Every time that a Brewster pitcher has thrown 2 back-to-back walks, they've responded with a K. That's exactly what August is looking for.
The ball on the strike to Alex Sosa. Started all 55 games last year, Graham. A 278 average with 55 hits, yet on the Cape, that average at 190, and that might be attributed to the amount of time that these players take off between the end of the college season and coming here to the Cape for the summer. That pitch nearly hits him. The wild pitch allows both runners to advance. With 2 outs, it looks like it did hit him. And indeed, he drops the protective gear and is headed to first base. August loads the bases with 2 outs here in the 5th.
And that is not what he was looking for. The breaking ball inside. It looks like he just released it a little bit too far over the heart of the plate, and it snuck in on Alex Sosa. But to your point about batting average dipping, I think that you're absolutely right in the time in between college and then playing here on the Cape during the summer. But I also think that part of it is, yes, 55 games, that's a lot, but it's spread throughout the entire spring semester. So you've got a weekend series, you've maybe got a midweek, and then you've got another weekend series. It's not every single day, 6 days in a row with an off day on Monday like it is here. And so it can take some time for players to adjust. It takes time for them to get used to getting their body in shape for a 6th straight game, whereas they were used to the breaks. They're used to having 4 days off in between that Tuesday midweek and then Saturday.
Coates taps it above the head of August. A charging Bates is late to the ball, and that brings a 3rd run across for the Whitecaps as Blake Sear scores. Colton Coates just chops it right over the mound, a Baltimore chop, and that brings the run across for Brewster.
And I think that's totally on the shoulders of Tyler August. When the ball was above him, he looked to the sky and opened his glove like he was going to make the play, which made Charlie Bates kind of hold up. He didn't charge in nearly as fast as he could have to make that throw over to first. I think it's because August looked like he was going to try to make the play and then bailed on it at the last second.
Everybody's safe as well with 2 outs as Coates goes to first base. We'll see at the ruling. It indeed is single, not the fielder's choice. And Bates didn't make it play, so no fielder's choice at all. And Briggs ends a brief mound meeting as the 3rd baseman Velasquez joins the conversation. Curse moves to 3rd, and Sosa moves to 2nd. It's Coates at first for Ty Head. Already with a run scored in this game, as the 2nd batter of the 4th, he stole a base and brought around on Adam Magpok's RBI single. 3-1 Brewster. First pitch strike to Ty Head.
The bottom 3 of this order, including Ty Head, have been very dangerous for the Caps in this ball game. Coates now 2 for 3 on the day. Head 1 for 1 with a walk. And then Magpok 1 for 2 with a sac bunt as well.
August a strike away from getting out of this jam with only 1 run surrendered. And that's to the point we made earlier, Graham, that Brewster's got a powerful lineup. Daniel Cuvée, Blake Sear, and Dalton Wentz can all torch opponents with a long ball. Fly ball on the infield. Briggs drops the mask towards the dugout. He ends the inning. August surrenders a 3rd run for Brewster, but works himself out of it. And we head to the bottom of the 5th inning with Brewster ahead 3-1.
When it comes to delicious food, the best place to start is with great appliances. And Cam Appliances is your one-stop shop for any budget with brands like Thermador, Viking, Bosch, GE, and so much more. Cam Appliances, sales, delivery, installation, and service in the heart of your home with locations in Hyannis, Nantucket, and Hanover.
Here at the Mass State Lottery, we're known for our monster wins. But there's no bigger win than the $1 billion we provide each year to support all 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. In our game, we know that supporting local businesses and helping communities is how we all win. Because at the lottery, we're all playing for the home team. The Mass State Lottery. Welcome to the state of winning.
The lights at McKeon Park stay bright all season long thanks to the Knack Cape Cod. The Knack offers 2 locations at Hyannis and in Orleans, both offering delicious burgers, tacos, sandwiches, and more. Visit the Knack Cape Cod to order online today. The Knack Cape Cod is proud to be the Light Up the Park sponsor of the Harbor Hawks all season long. And the lights flicker on here at McKeon Park as we head to the bottom of the 5th. Duncan Marston faced the minimum in the last inning. He works an inning-ending double play of Jason Walk. And his Whitecaps took a 3-1 lead in the top half of the frame off just 1 hit. They do leave the bases loaded, but it's a walk from Blake Sear, a walk from Carson Curse, a hit batsman in Alex Sosa, and then the RBI single from Colton Coates that brings Sear in to score. This is a very similar fate that we saw before Hyannis the last time Brewster came here to McKeon Park, Max, as it was a 3-2 game, or rather a 2-1 game entering the 5th inning, and then Brewster gets the go-ahead RBI double from Dalton Wentz to eventually pull ahead for good.
Well, even in their 3-game losing streak, nobody denies that the pitching for Brewster remains very strong, 3rd in the Cape in best ERA, and the Harbor Hawks only held to 2 hits, and one of the first ones came on the first batter of the game right here, Ryan McKay.
The leadoff man back to the dish, facing Marston for a first time. The right-hander for Brewster out for his 3rd inning of work in relief of Jacob Dudan. And his first ball nearly hits McKay. Springs Sosa out of his crouch, but it's 1-0. The final line for Dudan in this game. After 2 innings, 2 hits, the 1 run he allowed was earned. 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. Brewster winning the K battle right now as McKay levels the count. 6 for the Whitecaps, just 3 for the Harbor Hawks. Graham, this is a Harbor Hawk team that likes to pick up the strikeout numbers in the later innings. They got 102 this season. Maybe you'd expect a little more at this point, though.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it just a couple days ago in that game against Chatham at home.
McKay stays alive.
They didn't have a strikeout through the first 3 innings, and then from innings 4 through 9, they had 8. That's just kind of how things have gone at points in the season this year. But in that last game, it was consistent strikeouts the entire way through. They worked it all the way up to 12 at Gov Fuller Field. They're just, it's so dependable. You can literally count on them creeping towards 10 in every game, it feels like. I mean, they've already got 6 in this ball game through 4 innings.
And this is a Brewster team with those 6 strikeouts that's in the bottom half of the league in Ks at just 84. And to say just 84 feels like an overstatement because Hyannis is at 102. Time called by Ryan McKay as he steps out of the box. The Michigan State Spartan, known for working walks in East Lansing, but Graham, he hasn't had to do that a whole lot given that he's entered the game 6 for 8 with 5 singles and a double.
Hey, he's only got 3 walks on the season thus far. Has yet to have a multi-walk performance, which, you know, sounds like it would be difficult. For Ryan McKay, it really wasn't during his time at Michigan State in 2025. But yeah, when you go 3 for 3 and then 3 for 5, you don't really need to count on your eye that much because it's all coming to you at the plate.
Max, as you'd say, he's seeing beach balls right now.
Yes, he is. And with a hot streak, you got to ride it. Of course, all good things come to an end, but enjoy it while it lasts.
McKay skies this one into right center. Back on it, Magpok. He flashes the leather at the track for out number 1. It's McKay's second fly out of the game after a leadoff double. And that brings up Matt Mira, batting second tonight for the first time all season long. When he's been in, he's typically batted a leadoff. And that's been a successful journey for him. He led off on Sunday against Chatham, one of his worst performances of the season, but that's because he was 3 for 4 with a double on June 19th against Bourne. And then at Chatham a couple Tuesdays ago on June 17th, he takes the first ball low and away. He knocked the go-ahead RBI single in the top of the ninth. And then, although Chatham sent it to extras with the game-tying run in the bottom of the ninth, Mira single-handedly avoided a loss for Hyannis. He's ahead 1-0. Ropes this into center field. Head treads for a moment and makes out number 2. Let's see what the answer is to Who's That Harbor Hawk. I know some of you are playing along on X. And it's Mitch Garver. Current Seattle Mariner, former Texas Ranger. Played for Hyannis in 2012. Would not have guessed that.
Me neither. Was not in my repertoire.
Not in your scope of ball knowledge, Graham?
No, not at all.
The last one, Jason Veritek. We had a couple people get that one right. And here's Miles Bailey. First pitch strike from Marston. Let's check to see if any of those that played along got it right. And indeed, Mike Gustafson got it correct.
Mitch Garvey, though.
Mitch Garvey, not Mitch Garver. We'll give it to him. Bailey's down 0-2, and Mike corrected himself in the reply. So not only right, but right and proofread. Kudos to Mike. Marston looking to end the inning right here. Chop towards the pitcher. Marston jogs over and goes 1-2-3 in the 5th. Sends him down in order and maintains a 3-1 Whitecap lead headed to the 6th. We got It's time for the top of the 6th. We got a new pitcher on the mound, but first it's time for everyone's favorite segment. Let's beat D-Bot here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. D-Bot, it's been a rough couple of days for you. Started out 5-1. You've lost each of your last 3, like these Brewster Whitecaps have entering tonight.
Yeah, unnecessary blow at Brewster there, but all right. If I can be like Brewster, pretty good, because they're looking like contenders this year.
They've turned it around. It's 3-1 Whitecaps here in the top of the 6th. Your player for tonight, D-Bot, is Colton Coates out of Louisiana Tech. What do you got?
Oh, this is going to bother me if I don't get this. Oh, this is going to bother me.
Batting for the Whitecaps, the right fielder for Boston College, number 1.
It's not the Bulldogs, but the Bulldogs is coming in my head, which for some reason makes no sense. Because why would Louisiana Tech be the Bulldogs?
Are you asking me? Adam Magpock at the plate for Brewster.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Johnny Manziel one time played against Louisiana Tech on an ESPNU game where they were both ranked in the top 25.
Was this his second year or his first year?
This was his second. This was the Heisman year. And for some reason, it was like 55-45, and there was a bunch of weird things had to do with this game. Joe Davis was calling it when he was calling games for ESPN. it was super high scoring. Long story short, Bulldogs is the only thing coming to my mind, but I know I'm at 500.
You are correct.
Oh!
It's the Bulldogs. And honestly, you deserve
I wanted
it.
you to change your answer
You
so
deserve
bad.
it. And D-Bot, to fill in on the history of the game, is the new pitcher Adam Troy levels the count 1-1 to Adam Macpock. The final score of that game was 59-57 on October 13th, 2012.
Yep.
A 2-point win for number 22 Texas A&M. That is incredible.
I was 7 years old. And
That is incredible.
I wasn't a college football fan at that time, but, you know.
You were or were not?
I was not.
That is unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm awestruck, D-Bot. Incredible.
Hey,
Hey, pound that. You deserve it.
I said I want to go 6-4 in my first 10, and that I have done.
Swing and a miss for Adam Macpock. First strikeout for Adam Troy, the rising redshirt junior, and an incoming transfer to USC. In for his third appearance of the summer, and he starts it off red hot, Max.
Yeah, and I think it's time that we stay exclusively to the West Coast for Beat D-Bot.
Fourth K of the day for Hyannis pitching. And Adam Troy, as we mentioned, in for a third time. He last got out on Saturday against Catuit. Just an inning of work, walked a couple, struck out a batter, and allowed one hit to no earned runs. And he relieves Tyler August. And the Liberty Flame comes out of the ball game. Search for the final line. There it is. After 2 innings of work, 3 hits, 2 runs allowed, both of them earned. He walked a couple of batters. And here's a first pitch swing from from Manny Marin. Flip the order for the Brewster Whitecaps. And Troy came out of that game against Catuit, Graham, before a very interesting and high-tension situation in that game. 1-1 to Manny Marin, who's up for a 4th time tonight. He's 0 for 3 entering the at-bat. Troy comes out of the game. Ryan Speciak is asked for a 5-out save. He gets it, but gets it by K'ing up Rintaro Sasaki, the National Freshman of the Year, and his Stanford teammate, Luke Lavin, to effectively seal that game for Hyannis.
Yeah, Troy allowed a hit and then walked 2 to load the bases. That's the other piece of the puzzle. The bases were loaded. The go-ahead run was at the plate, and Speciak got it done.
Marin lifts it foul first baseline. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And he's already looked more comfortable in this appearance compared to that one at Catuit. He actually was credited with a hold at Catuit for keeping that lead, but he's peppering the zone right now. That fastball is blowing past Manny Marin, and his breaking ball looks pretty strong too.
Troy's yet to allow a run in his 2 appearances on the Cape. Trying to ring up a second batter in a row here in Manny Marin, the shortstop for Brewster. And Troy's 5.79 ERA for the Pepperdine Waves this past season was inflated by a 5-run outing on May 6th and a loss to Cal Poly. Brought it down from a 9 ERA to that 5.79 number, nearly the same amount of innings. But only allowed hits in 5 of the 19 appearances. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of innings to get. He just got a shade over 20 innings as only really a 1-inning setup man for Pepperdine. And now he comes into the Cape ahead of a transfer to USC, not trying to stretch it. He's pitched 1 inning in both of his previous outings, Graham, and trying to hone in on what he does best as a true setup man.
Yeah, he knows his limits, which I think is really admirable.
Tapped softly towards Troy. He scoops it up and lofts it to first for the second out of the inning. Had to literally throw it over Marin's head to Miles Bailey. That one tapped so softly down the first base line.
Did a really good job fielding his position there. That was hit so softly, and he was still able to glove it pretty well and just lob it over to his first baseman, Bailey. But to your point, I imagine it's got to be so hard as a pitcher to be feeling good like he was against Chatham in his 1 inning that he pitched and not come back into the ball game.
First ball to Dalton Wentz is in the dirt. Either clips for a strike.
But these pitchers know how important a quality appearance is for them. They don't want to stretch it if they think that it could get themselves or their team in trouble.
Check swing on the appeal to third. Did not go around. And Troy will try to keep control into the later innings. After the bullpen did a solid job for Hyannis the last time these two teams met on June 16th. And Troy goes ahead. He's a strike away. But ultimately, that blemish in the 5th inning that Tsubasa Tommy allowed gave Brewster the 3-2 win. Troy's 1-2. It's roped into right field and down for a base hit. Wentz reaches for the second time today after a walk in the 3rd inning and has maybe sparked another 2-out rally for Brewster.
Yeah, that fastball just caught a little bit too much of the plate. And credit Troy, still filling up the zone. It's only about placement, so he's on the right track.
And here's Daniel Cuvée, among the most difficult outs in this Brewster Whitecap order. Is a first-team All-American at Miami this past spring. He singled in this game, struck out, and flown out. And Troy deals him low on the first ball. And despite the score, Max, Hyannis pitching has done a nice job of quelling powerful bats for Brewster. They haven't beaten them with the long ball today.
Yeah, and they're keeping the slug down, and that's what you want to do. Limit base hits like we just saw to only that, no extra bases.
Cuvée level a ball and a strike.
There's only been one extra base hit for Brewster in this ballgame. That was Blake Sear back in the 1st. It's how they got their first run. But since then, just a handful of singles, and then the walks. The walks, in my mind, has been what's killed them in this ballgame so far.
Brewster's got 4 less home runs than Hyannis. The runner's off, and it's fouled off by Cuvée, 1 and 2. Brewster's only at 3, while Hyannis is at 7. Yet between Daniel Cuvée, first-team All-American at Miami at the plate, and Carson Tinney, the first-team All-American formerly for Notre Dame, now headed to Texas, rather, it's more than 30 combined dingers from this last college baseball season. Dalton Wentz aboard first, as Troy's a strike away. He's got his sign. And he just misses the... Oh, he got him. Ring him up. A late call from Warren Nicholson sends Daniel Cuvée to the dugout. Strand Wentz at first, but it's 3-1 Brewster, headed to the bottom half of the 6th.
Owning a home means you can protect your family and put down roots in a community you care about. It gives you a place to celebrate the joys of daily living and be together during tough times. But for many on Cape Cod, home ownership is slipping further out of reach. Help make sure the American dream is available to the teachers, public safety professionals, and all the other people who make the Cape a special place. Visit capehousingmatters.org to find out more.
Sun's coming down here in the bottom of the 6th at McKeon Park. Duncan Marston out for a 4th inning of work at least to start it. He sent the Harbor Hawks down in order, 1, 2, 3 in the 5th. And he's faced the minimum each of the last 2 innings and has maintained a 3-1 lead for Brewster in this game. And the Whitecaps, Graham, looking for a 2nd win here at McKeon Park. They'll only make 2 trips to Hyannis this year. Of course, 4 games against the Harbor Hawks as is league standard for the West and the East Division. But you take a pair of wins in a place where it was really hard to win last year at 16-3, and then you'd hand Hyannis its 3rd loss here at home of the young summer.
Yeah, and it's so important to get this win if you're Hyannis because you don't want to allow an opposing team to kind of get in a groove against you. We've seen so many instances, not just in baseball, but throughout all kinds of sports, where a team just starts to get comfortable. You just kind of start to get used to beating a certain team. And if Brewster's able to win the first 2, in Hyannis, in McKeon Park, then that's going to give them all the confidence in the world as they head back home, like you said, to face Hyannis for the next couple games. So the Harbor Hawks, they've got to dig deep. They've got to find something. It's going to be hard, though, because this pitching staff has been phenomenal, just at not letting runners get on base in the last couple innings.
Lights out, as you mentioned, Graham. Here's Ray Velasquez. Takes a first ball high. 6 strikeouts on the day for Brewster, as they're bottom half of the league in Ks this year, at 8th in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Marston's faced the minimum in the last 2 innings. In the 4th, he allowed Brody Briggs on base with a walk, and then turned to double play as Jason Walk grounded out 6-4-3. And now for Duncan Marston, the Wake Forest Rising sophomore, a 3rd appearance becomes a welcome change from the last 2 that's got his ERA at 10.8. 2-0 inside to Ray Velasquez. It's the Austin P. Governor to the plate for a 3rd time in this game. Struck out in the 1st, walked in the 3rd. Marston gets one back. Velasquez, Graham, transferred to Austin P after 2 years at Vanderbilt, where Tim Corbin called him a 60s kid. A guy that's gritty, able to take a punch, and he lauded his mental growth, both at the plate and at third base. And he works a walk here. That's a guy you want on your team, especially if that sort of ringing endorsement comes from Tim Corbin.
That's exactly right. I mean, the mental game is 90% of baseball. Maybe not quite 90, but it is so important to have a strong mental game when you step up to the plate, because you get knocked down in this game almost more than any. The only other sport that I'd put up there is probably golf, which we keep coming back to. But baseball is not rewarding. It is not a rewarding sport at all. You can have the best stuff in the world one day and then the worst stuff in the world the next, and you've got to have the grit and the ability to dig it out of the dirt. You've got to be able to say to yourself that you believe in what you have in that given day and can work on it.
It's a sport that takes and seldom gives back, Graham, as you said, but there's a new pitcher due up for Brewster after Duncan Marston delivers an excellent performance for Jamie Shevchik. We'll meet the new pitcher on the other side of this break here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network.
At the Mass State Lottery, we know there's no bigger win than the $1 billion we provide each year to support all 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. Now that's how we all win. The Mass State Lottery. Welcome to the state of winning.
This week we've been working a lot with doing play-by-plays, just doing behind-the-scenes stuff with sports broadcasting, which I never really realized how much went into it, but it's been really cool. They've grown a lot. I've never really done like a program like this before, so like seeing all the behind-the-scenes has like really grown.
I've learned how to really just gain confidence in my play-by-play speaking, and I've learned more terms here when it comes to directing and producing, and I've just had a great time with John Rook.
Doing the play-by-play stuff and all that, being with a guy like John Rook, understanding what like the major kind of entails doing this camp, just really a preview for what you do here at Dean or any other college doing broadcasting, so I'm definitely more prepared to make this a job of mine.
A new arm on the mound for Jamie Shevchik and Brewster as the Whitecaps cling to a 3-1 lead. It's the right-hander Hayden Bauer, Ohio State Buckeye, entering his senior year. The native of Houston, Texas, makes his 3rd appearance here on the Cape. Across 4 innings, he's amassed an ERA of 2.25, 4 walks, 3 Ks. And at Ohio State this year, 21 appearances. That ERA was as low as 3, but it's at 6.69 at the end of the season across 35 innings. He struck out 30 guys. You got a real strikeout pitcher coming in here, Graham, someone that likes to use the fastball a lot.
Yeah, and the last time that he pitched, he only struck out 1. That was at Bourne on the 20th. So he didn't seem to have his best stuff. He allowed a hit, kept it pretty clean, though. No runs and only 2 walks. So not his best stuff, I don't think, in that game against Bourne, just looking at the stats and how things were split. So he's got to find the zone. It really seems like he's a guy that serves off confidence, off how am I going to do from one at-bat to the next. And if that means if that first at-bat is a walk, then he's got to lock in. That, I think, is what happened in the Bourne game. So this first at-bat, very, very important.
And it ends the day for the right-hander Duncan Marston. After 3 innings, he doesn't allow a hit nor a run. He walks 4, but he Ks 2 Harbor Hawks. Really, really good work from the righty. Faces the minimum in each of the last 2 frames, and he's responsible for Ray Velasquez on first base. Bauer dishes low to Andrew Williamson. Max always signaling to the dugout after pitches like that, trying to alert his teammates of tendencies from a new pitcher.
Yeah, he's signaling changeup or splitter. He said either one because he wasn't exactly sure, but splitter usually doesn't spin as much.
Mentioned that fastball from Bauer as he throws a heater to first. Velasquez back in time. 49% of the time, and it tops out at 92. Not all too fast. The off speed is next at 40%. And it's the only other breaking ball, or rather the only breaking ball in his arsenal is the slider at 11%. And Williamson down 1-2.
He has him ahead right there on the breaking ball. We saw one fastball at the very start of the at-bat, but I think it's safe to say that Williamson was sitting on a fastball there. And the 2-strike count might see him go back to something soft. Just keep it low in the zone.
This is Bauer's 3rd year in a row playing summer ball. The last 2 summers have been spent in the MLB Draft League with the State College Spikes. Williamson trying to avoid the double play, and he does indeed. He legs it out as the first base umpire, J.B. Torres, says first baseman Dalton Wentz was off the bag. So the only out is at second for the second baseman, Carson Curse.
That is the effort that we're pretty used to seeing from Andrew Williamson this season. He's done that a couple times already in this summer league where it looks like he's dead to rights and then we'll just leg it out.
102 miles per hour off the bat for Andrew Williamson. It's a hard near ground out, but he reaches on the fielder's choice. Here's Vaughn Lackey trying to erase an 0-for streak entering the game. Off goes Williamson. Throw skips into Curse, and he's out. Williamson swiped along the base paths. It's the first Harbor Hawk to be caught stealing in the opening attempt.
It looks like he just wanted to win back that base that he wasn't able to move for Ray Velasquez.
I just got to say, that is one of the most impressive tags I've ever seen by Curse at second base. That was an in-between hop, and he let it travel. They teach you to let it travel. The inclination is to go out and get it. But instead, he trusts his abilities, lets that tough hop travel back. And if he didn't do that, wow, I'm impressed.
Speaking of catching a lot of runners along the base paths, Vaughn Lackey's done just that this season, catching a runner stealing at least one in 4 of the 5 games he's played. Not catching today, Graham. He's allowed to DH and focus solely on his at-bats, which Mitch Carricker thinks will be transcendent for his approach at the plate.
And I think that showed really early on. He drew a walk his first plate appearance, but then he struck out back in the 3rd, so he didn't quite have that same energy in the 3rd inning his second time up, so this is a very big at-bat. This can teeter his day one way or the other, either in the strikeout struggling way or in the drawing walks and battling way. It's interesting. It's going to be a really fun matchup.
He has reached base today, walked in the 2nd, but struck out after that. And Hayden Bauer's a strike away from ringing him up for a 2nd time in a row. And Max, you brought this up earlier, but Lackey's got a ton of starting experience. Started 55 games last year for Georgia Tech. As he laces this one into right center field, head racing to the wall, and it drops in front of the wall. Lackey with a wide turnaround second. He's got some serious speed as a catcher. And finally, Vaughn Lackey's got himself a hit. It's the first since he played these Whitecaps 9 days ago.
Taking it where it's pitched, right center field. That is a beautiful swing. And on a line, that is impressive how far it traveled. And the Harbor Hawks dugout, I don't know if you guys can hear it. They love it. They love this guy. It's got to feel good to break out of a slump.
They knew they were in his corner the whole way, and a beaming smile on second base from Vaughn Lackey. He fires it at 98 miles per hour off the bat, 347 of about 350 to the right center field wall. And Charlie Bates swings through the first offering from Bauer.
Also, Lackey's first multi-base hit with the Harbor Hawks. He only had 2 singles, one at Wareham and then one against Brewster the last time he got a hit. So it's got to feel good to let the legs loose, just run freely. He is such a quick runner, like you said.
Stole 18 bases as a catcher for Georgia Tech to lead the team and Power 4 catchers.
He's got so much pop. I mean, behind the plate throwing, running the base pads, he's a really fun player to watch. That's why so many are interested in him. That's why he's already here as a rising sophomore. He's got a lot of talent.
Headed to Team USA training camp in Cary next week, and Bauer skips a ball into Charlie Bates. He'll join Chris Rembert and Trey Beard, a couple of Harbor Hawks who are already on their way to join the national team. Miles Bailey will be on his way out as well. And Lackey at second base will get an opportunity to join a prestigious group. Bates with discipline at the plate here. And the shortstop for Hyannis, 0 for 2 today. Another player, Graham, that we've seen struggle at the plate at times, but pick it up of late.
Yeah, Bates, 1 for 4 at Falmouth. That was his first hit in his last 8 at bats. He struggled at Katua and went 0 for 4, but before that, 2 for 4 at Chatham, 3 for 4 against Wareham. He found his groove. He's just trying to re-find the spark.
Bates trying to spark a 2-out rally to that end. The breaking ball misses outside for Bauer. A Brewster team that entered the day having lost the last 3 in a row, while Hyannis looking for its 4th consecutive win to extend its West Division lead. Bates is rung up. Strike 3 on the inner corner. Bauer pinpoints the location, and the Harbor Hawks strand Lackey at second. It's still 3-1 Brewster, headed to the 7th.
Your future begins at Dean College.
Make a difference.
Leave your mark.
Break the mold.
Be a leader.
Achieve unimagined heights.
Believe in yourself. Make lifelong friends.
This is your time.
Your place.
Your home. Your Dean.
It all starts here at Dean College.
Captioning. Adam Troy remains atop of the bump, and he'll get a difficult part of the Brewster order with the Whitecaps ahead of the Harbor Hawks 3-1. Blake Sear, Carson Curse, and Alex Sosa 4, 5, and 6 due up for the Whitecaps. And we saw Carson Curse make a tremendous play at second base an inning ago, Max, that you described as one of the best tags you've ever seen.
I mean, as a former infielder, obviously I'm going to get excited about that. It's not that cool, trust me, but for me, you guys have to understand. You know, infielding drills, you know, you're taking throws from second base. They always teach you let the ball travel, and that obviously feels very inverse to what you want to do naturally. You want to go out and get the ball, but that action of extending your arm forward, then bring it all the way back, of course the ball is going to travel faster than your arm. But what was so impressive about that tag was the in-between hop. He let the ball come up on him and then just went straight back down instead of going out and picking it on a short hop, which would have made it easier. And that's something that scouts are going to pick up on if they know what they're doing.
Web gem at second base from Carson Curse. But off to watching as Blake Sear comes to the dish. It was his RBI double that got the party started for Brewster tonight. Just teetering along that third base line for an RBI.
Max, you had the opportunity yesterday to have a cool conversation with a scout at
I
Falmouth. Gave you some insights.
I did. I asked him a lot about the difference in kind of interpreting the numbers between the wood bat and the metal bat. Of course, in college, lots of home runs. The offense, 70 ERAs are normal for pitchers, especially in power fours. And it was a really cool opportunity for me to see how they approach these Cape League games.
Sear launches this behind the plate. It drifts over the net now to play.
One of the main things he told me about deciphering The difference between the wood and the metal bat is that they pay a lot of attention to the batting practice of these guys, because that's really the only opportunity that they see these guys hitting, 50, 60 mile an hour pitches with these with these wood bats. And that shows the power, the force that these guys are swinging with. So obviously the in-game is important, but the batting practice right there as well.
0-2. Rope down the third base line. It's another fair ball into left field for Blake Sear. He hesitates around first, but he chugs into second with ease as Walk cuts it off to Charlie Bates. Into left field it takes him.
That's just such a good piece of hitting. Very similar to the double he had back in the first. He just gets it past the third base bag. That one hit the chalk. We saw some white dust fly up into the sky, and it just nestled in that corner. I think if he took a stronger turnaround first, he might have been able to try at least to stretch that into 3. But leadoff double, what else can you ask for right now if you're the Whitecaps?
As you saw Jason Walk, the left fielder, go all the way to the tail end of the Hyannis bullpen, down the third base line. And Sear, just short of a great jump at third, could have had a triple, as you mentioned, Graham. And now he's in scoring position for Carson Curse. The second baseman for Brewster takes high. Curse has got himself a hit tonight in the third. He was stranded in both appearances he's made to the base paths tonight as he walked in the fifth. Troy fires low. And Adam Troy, the Pepperdine wave, relieves Tyler August tonight, who came in for Brett Landman. A very similar game to the one we saw 9 days ago between Brewster and Hyannis at this field. A 3-2 Whitecap win. 2-0 is right down Broadway.
Something that this Hyannis pitching staff has struggled with, at least at home, is pitching with runners in scoring position, a situation that Troy is in right now. They are 11 for 31. Opposing hitters are 11 for 31 in this ballpark with a runner in scoring position. That's a .355 average, well above what Hyannis is looking for.
And oftentimes, it's come in the middle innings, Graham, when it's coincided with Hyannis's bats fizzling after a hot start.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like all of a sudden the opposing team gets all the momentum because they prevent Hyannis from getting those hits and then also fuel that into their own ability to get runners home.
Launched into center field. It takes Mira to the track. He stops and clutches for the throw down to third as Sear reaches easily. So productive out for Carson Curse as he's out for a second time today with a strikeout in the first inning. And now a fourth run 90 feet for Brewster.
Well, that ball hit very hard and very far. It had a good sound, but it did look like he got a little bit off in on the hands and hit it to one of the toughest parts of the ballpark to take it out, dead center field here at McKeon Park.
379 in straightaway center field. It's typically very tough to hit to right field with the wind coming off the Hyannis Harbor. For a lefty coming up in Alex Sosa, he'd almost have to fly it another 15, 20 feet at its worst peak. But on Sunday against Chatham, the wind flipped directions and was blowing at the back of a lefty hitter. And it even allowed Chatham catcher and first baseman Daniel Jackson to hit a homer to that part of the ballpark, largely carried by the wind.
I still cannot believe that ball left.
We also saw Federico and Williamson exit to that part of the yard. Federico switch hitter, but he was going up against a righty at that point, so I'm guessing he was probably hitting from the left. So when the wind blows out, the lefties are very, very much so favored.
Infielders in. Sosa rips this right at them and into right field. It's going to drop in that pocket and allow Sear to jog home for a fourth run. Cut off at second is in time. So Sosa belts an RBI single, but he's hosed at second by Andrew Williamson.
That is such an impressive throw. There have been so many times where Williamson has threatened with his arm out in right field, but hasn't really cut down a batter. That time, he was able to do so. He was licking his chops, too, when he picked it up. Threw a laser. That thing didn't get above head high, I don't think. And he was cheating very well over to center field. So to have the speed, and then look at that throw. Takes one hop, a great height for Bates to lay down the tag.
A red light for at least a few more games for Andrew Williamson in right field. A player that started all 55 games for UCF in right field. And he's got a ton of experience back there across 2 seasons in Florida. Here's Colton Coates. And a foul ball back levels the count. It was Coates' single in the 5th that allowed Brewster to begin to run away with this game. He brought home Blake Sear, who has scored now for a second time tonight here in the 7th with a single. Ripped foul third base side. It's a lefty loose in the bullpen for Hyannis after it's been 2 righties in relief of Brett Landman, the lefty, who started off this game. That's the other thing to mention, Graham, that Adam Troy stretches beyond the first inning for the very first time this season.
Very surprising. Thought for sure it'd be a 1-inning appearance.
Throws low in the dirt.
And he didn't do that all too often at Pepperdine either.
19 appearances in just 22 innings for him.
Sometimes that's what has to happen, though. So, you know, your pitching staff can get tired. These guys, again, it comes back to them not playing this consistently in college. They get at least 2-3 days off between that Tuesday midweek and then Friday, the start of a weekend series.
And Coates flies this into left field, walk on it to end the damage there for Adam Troy. He brings a 4th run across as Alex Sosa picks up an RBI single, and Brewster has stretched the lead to 3. Time to stretch on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network.
Gio, that was...
This week we've been working a lot with doing play-by-plays, just doing behind-the-scenes stuff with sports broadcasting, which I never really realized how much went into it, but it's been really cool.
They've grown a lot. I've never really done like a program like this before, so like seeing all the behind the scenes has like really grown.
I've learned how to really just gain confidence in my play-by-play speaking, and I've learned more terms here when it comes to directing and producing, and I've just had a great time with John Rook.
Doing the play-by-play stuff and all that, being with a guy like John Rook, understanding what like the major kind of entails doing this camp, just really a preview for what you do here at Dean or any other college doing broadcasting, so I'm definitely more prepared to make this a job of mine.
Here at McKeon Park, let's check in with Ava Fernandez down by the dugout. Graham.
Coming from Dayton, Massachusetts.
Awesome. And this is your first Cape Cod baseball game. What are excited thoughts of being here?
So I had no idea about this, but I was scrolling on TikTok for free things to do in Cape Cod, and this was the first thing that came up, and I was very excited, and so I came and saw some of my old friends, and yeah, it's really great here.
And what brought you out to the ballpark today?
I was down for the day. I wanted to visit some friends from school, and so we went to the beach, and then what perfect way to finish off the day with the game.
Yeah, well, what has been your favorite thing about joining McKeon so far?
I would say I didn't know this, but this is actually one of my friend's old schools, so we saw some of his old teachers and everything. It was really wholesome and really cute.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming around the ballpark today.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, Ava. Always great to see the many fans that show up to Harbor Hawks games. And they'll watch Hayden Bauer retoe the rubber for the bottom of the 7th inning here at McKeon Park. It's Brody Briggs, Jason Walk, and Ryan McKay due up for Hyannis, and it trails Brewster 4-1 as we enter the late innings here. Just 9 outs to take this away, Graham, and it's a very similar game to the one we saw last Monday.
Yeah, really very eerily similar. A lot of hot hitting at the start for Hyannis, literally as early as it could be. Ryan McKay with that leadoff double. And they got a couple
for the very first time this season.
Decent walk to bring home Andrew Williamson, get their 1 run on the board back in the 2nd. But since then, they have had 1 hit over the next 4 innings. It has really, really slowed down for the Hawks. And on the other side, Brewster has really done a good job of digging a couple runs out of the dirt.
Briggs chops the first ball to second. Curse quickly puts away the first out.
And despite Brewster getting 1 run in the 1st, 4th, 5th, and 7th, they've left so many on board. They have left 10 batters still on the pond, which speaks volumes, I feel like, to the pitching staff of Hyannis, not letting a crooked number go up and keeping them in this game. It now just comes down to the batters. Can they find the momentum? Can guys like Jason Walk, who had a phenomenal day yesterday, or Ryan McKay, who's on one of the greatest hitting streaks we've seen, find their momentum back?
And Graham, you mentioned that the Whitecaps, rather opponents in this ballpark, were 11 of 31 entering Alex Sosa's at-bat. That up to 12 after that one, 12 of 32, as here's Jason Walk at the plate. So Hyannis pitching has had an interesting record in the middle innings. Hot starts for the bats in each of the last 4 or 5 games, but just can't seem to stretch it into the later frames.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it is, because we've seen them do that on the road, which comes back to the puzzling record split, how they're undefeated on the road 2-2 here at McKeon Park. That's just baseball. There's not necessarily an explanation for it, or at least a good one. That's just kind of how the cookie is crumbled.
Walk takes the 1-1 high. And Max, if you're a hitter at the plate, and you've had that, and you've been on the wrong side of that trend far too often, what changes in the overall philosophy?
Right. I mean, I think the main thing is having a calm, collected approach every at-bat. Some guys, when things aren't going well in the middle innings, you don't want to hit a 2-run home run when nobody's on base. What I mean is they're trying to do too much at the plate because nothing's going as a team. So having that next guy up mentality, right, just trying to do the little things right, that collective mindset is really important.
To that point, Max, there was a time recently where I was able to ask Mitch Carricker about this, and he said that strategy didn't have to change. He wanted to see the team take the same exact approach every at-bat, no matter the situation. He wants them to be cool, calm, and collected every time they step up to the plate, and so maybe it is just trying to do too much.
And it's not like they haven't won games. In fact, taken each of the last 3. With incredible numbers at the plate. A walk goes down swinging here. And 2 down in the bottom of the 7th for Hayden Bauer. I'll take you around the league as we enter the bottom of the 7th here at McKeon Park. It's a 10-inning tie in Katuitt between the 2 last-place teams in the East and the West. Falmouth ahead 5-1 over Bourne. Orleans trying to move up from 3rd in the East against the 3rd in the East-West Division, Wareham, and a deadlocked game in the 7th in Harwich. Ryan McKay will flip the order for a 4th time today for the Harbor Hawks here in the 7th. And that 4-1 Brewster lead, if it's going to get erased at any point, Graham, this is the ideal time to do it for Hyannis. An 0-2 count to McKay.
It's exactly right. You got your leadoff guy up, Ryan McKay. He's already got a double in the ball game, followed by Matt Mura if McKay is able to get on, who surprisingly 0 for 3 on the day. Again, he's gotten himself on base every single game this season on the Cape in the Cape League. So, frankly, he's due. He's due if you look at the statistics that way, but this is exactly where you want to be if you're Mitch Carricker. You're absolutely right.
And McKay, the hottest batter of all of them. A lineup that includes Miles Bailey and Ray Velasquez, along with Andrew Williamson. He taps this softly towards 3rd. Coates clutches and fires, and that's the inning. 1 above. Oh, I'm sorry. The base is the minimum there as he goes ground out, strikeout, ground out in the 7th. We head to the top of the 8th with Brewster up 4-1.
If you can dream it, if you can cruise in it, if you can summer in it, fish from it, or take it for a day at the beach, we can protect it. The Baldwin Group, protecting the possible.
Been a ton of training when it comes to bat speed, or products for players to be able to train bat speed. You can improve your bat speed and reach your goals working 10 to 15 minutes a day on this a couple of times a week. It's a no-brainer for every player.
Cape Cod 5 is proud to be the official banking partner of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Cape Cod 5 offers a broad range of financial products and services tailored for every stage in your financial journey. Reach out to us. We're here to help.
Max Stammel makes his first appearance on Cape Cod in a Harbor Hawks uniform this year, and he relieves Adam Troy after his first 2-inning outing of the season, and the lefty Stammel comes in. He's a rising sophomore at Duke and a native of Dallas. Last year, his first season with the Blue Devils, 4.09 ERA in 18 games, 22 innings pitched, 10 earned runs, 3 homers allowed, 25 Ks in 22 innings. So an impressive register for the lefty Max Stammel, and now he makes his first appearance on Cape Cod.
He's coming into an interesting position. His team down 4-1, and they've got to get the bats up quickly. His job, not only get the 3 outs, try to get them quickly so you can get the bats back up.
The strikeouts really stick out, as you mentioned, Gio. 10-2 strikeouts per 9, but the hits per 9 pretty high at 7.8. So he's got swing and miss stuff, but I think he could be wild inside the zone, leaving stuff over the plate.
And Mitch Carricker already preparing for the future. We got the upcoming schedule here for Hyannis. It's at Orleans on Friday, an off day after this game. They play the Commodores again after a win at Gov Fuller Field last night here on Saturday. We'll go to Dennis Yarmouth High School to play YD, first in the East with an equal record to the Harbor Hawks coming into the day, at Harwich on Tuesday, and then here against the Kettleers on Wednesday. And you saw that beautiful sky setting over the left field fence. Pinkish and orange. Just a beautiful color. If only it didn't accompany, Graham, one of the hottest days of the summer so far.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we're probably going to wish it was hot in the next couple days because it's going to pour rain, and baseball could not be played.
Stammel's first ball of the summer is inside to tie Head. The center fielder's got a walk, a single. He's scored a run with a flyout today. And quickly, he levels the count.
On Friday at Orleans, supposed to be 72 degrees here. I mean, that's in Hyannis, but hopefully a little bit nicer temperature-wise.
Feels like if 90 at first pitch today.
You got to feel for the catchers. I feel like people just overlook it.
That's the worst.
You're in a squat, and you're wearing catcher's gear all day, working with pitchers in the bullpen before the game, doing throwdown drills. Wow. I caught for very few times, like my very first few years of baseball, and even then I was like, oh my gosh.
Level count to tie Head. If we think it's hot up here in the booth, I can only imagine what it's like down on the field. Already a righty warming for Mitch Carricker as the lefty Stammel throws outside.
Head, the part of the order that's had success, a lot of success, as there have been a couple of good hits tonight throughout the order, but Head 1 for 2 with a walk, Magpok 1 for 3 with a sac bunt. This part of the order is done well.
And Head stays alive here. It'll bring up Adam Magpok, regardless of the outcome here. An RBI single in the 4th, but a strikeout last time up. And I feel like Graham Brewster's played small ball tonight. We've seen a sac bunt from Magpok. We've seen a sac fly from Carson Kearse last inning. As Ty Head works a walk here, case in point, they've done it whichever way they can, not necessarily which way best suits them.
Yeah, that's right. That's walk number 5 for this Brewster batting order. And only 2 multi-base hits for Brewster in this ball game, despite getting 10 double-digit hits on the game. Only 2 have been doubles. Both, ironically, belong to Blake Sear, but it's been a lot of singles, a lot of walks, getting on base, bringing them around from scoring position.
Man on for Adam Magpok, who dodges out of the way of a breaking ball inside. And Magpok began the game from the right side. Switched to the left for his single in the 4th and his strikeout in the 6th. Now switches back. Level count. And so Stammel, to revisit the point of the bullpen, Max, clearly a setup for whoever Mitch Carricker has out in the 9th. It appears to be a righty in the bullpen.
Looks like Carson Yassa.
Carson Yassa, one of the many closers by committee. Here's the runner off. Tag is in time. Briggs was saying earlier today that he hasn't had a ton of chances to throw guys out. He gets a first of the season here.
And there's
I was just going to say that's his second of the season. But Briggs, I mean, what a bullet that one was. Sorry.
I was going to say, there's the pop. We've been talking about it. He's got so much from behind the plate. He gets that right foot positioned so well behind him and then just pops up.
MacPock golfs this one into shallow right. And Bailey makes the play for the second out. A couple outs in quick succession for Max Stammel. And a strong start to his outing.
It helps when your catcher can do what Brody Briggs just did, cut down your leadoff batter that you walked. That's got to give him a lot of confidence, and not just in Brody Briggs, but in his infield, believing that they can cut down runners, that they can make tough plays. And now for the top of the order, he's got to be feeling pretty good.
Manny Marin to the dish for a 5th time in this game. He's put bat to ball in each of his last 3 appearances. 2 ground outs and a flyout. Here he misses it entirely.
Great changeup right there. Pulled the string.
Stammel's got some great control on that breaking ball we've seen displayed early in this game. A strike away. And Marin stays alive.
We've seen a couple swings like that in this inning where Whitecaps have just kind of dug one, golfed one out of the bottom of the zone, fouled it straight back to stay alive. They are playing pesky baseball tonight.
Marin trying to preserve the inning. It's been a couple 2-out rallies tonight for Brewster. And Stammel fires high.
That's another thing that coaches love to see, just pesky baseball. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be via lots of multi-base hits like we talked about. They're playing small ball.
Stammel rings him up. How about his first start on or outing on Cape Cod? He sends him down 1-2-3. Keep the score right where it is. Headed to the bottom of the 8th.
Get ready for big results with our small machines. With more power, performance, comfort, and savings. They're ready for every job. And we're ready with plenty of inventory, the best support in the business, same-day parts availability, and locations across the Northeast. So you can always be ready to work. Milton Cat, always ready.
If you can dream it, if you can cruise in it, if you can summer in it, fish from it, or take it for a day at the beach, we can protect it. The Baldwin Group, protecting the possible.
It's a new arm atop the bump for Jamie Shevchik in the bottom of the 8th. His Brewster Whitecaps lead the Hyannis Harbor Hawks 4-1, and he is handing the ball to Camden Wimbish, an NC State rising junior from Locust, North Carolina. This is his 2nd appearance of the Cape League season, with a total of 4 2/3 innings pitched. He's punched out 5 batters. His last game was at YD, Graham, but he did get in here at Hyannis a couple of Mondays ago. Just 1 inning of work for him there.
Yeah, he had a really good showing. No hits, no runs, struck out 4 in that game where he was actually tagged with the win. And so he's coming in with good momentum at McKeon Park, trying to build, and frankly, they might let him finish this ball game out.
And I'm going to correct myself, folks. He went 3 1/3 here, reading the wrong line. It was only 1 inning against YD on June 21st, but 3 1/3, and you mentioned those 4 strikeouts. This is a strikeout pitcher because at NC State this past year, he punched out 17 batters in 16 innings.
That's unbelievable. It's similar to what we saw with Bauer just a inning ago, where it feels like if he finds the zone early, he'll be in a very good spot to thrive and to play well against a tough part of the order in Mira, Bailey, and Velasquez. But if these early guys can work up that ball count, that ball part of the count, then they might be able to get to him.
Hayden Bauer's day is done after A pair of innings pitched. He allows just 1 hit and strikes out 2. That gives way to a 4th straight righty atop the mound for Jamie Shevchik in this game. Jacob Duden started it off, then threw to Duncan Marston, 3 innings. And the aforementioned Bauer now gives way to Camden Wimbish. And it's Matt Mira up to the plate for Hyannis, and he launches this ball into left field. Sear back on it. It dies in left. I thought he got that off the bat, Graham. Just a shade under it.
It sounded so good. Exactly. I just think he barely missed that launch angle, that 29.6 that Max has been talking about all season long. That one might have been at 31, 32, but he blasted that. It sounded so crisp off the bat.
I'll have the launch angle for you in a second, but here's Miles Bailey at the plate. An eventful first out of the 8th. As Wimbush fires outside. Our track man is down, according to our wonderful director of baseball ops, Megan Swenson, who's provided numbers for us all game long. 1-0. And Bailey ahead. And this is the discipline we've grown accustomed to from Miles Bailey, Graham.
It really is, and it's kind of been as of late. We talked a lot early about how his strikeout numbers were pretty high, but drew 2 walks against Falmouth, has a walk tonight. He's been really, really patient.
Takes a strike here. He told us he wants to be aggressive at the plate, but only on pitches he feels he can drive, and that seems intuitive, but that's often the plight of the power hitter.
It's exactly right, and especially we've seen him struggle with the breaking ball. That's especially true of hitters that struggle hitting those pitches that start in the zone and bend down, because it's so tempting to swing, but you just got to wait a little bit longer. You've got to try and see that spin on the ball earlier, and I once talked to a friend that was very into baseball pitching and said that if the ball is spinning end over end, that's an indicator it's a fastball. And you can see that. You can see that actually out of the release point. I never have because I never played baseball for long enough. But apparently you can see that. And so if that ball's not going end over end, you've got to sit. You've got to wait, especially if it starts over the heart of the plate.
Incredible how they can see it in such real time. There's an end over end pitch from Wimbush and a punch out of Bailey. 2 up, 2 down for the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Rather, member of the Wolfpack. As Bailey K's up for the 2nd time today.
Well, we said that Wimbish's appearance was going to be decided by how quickly he got the first couple outs, and I don't think you could get him much faster than he did. Got Mira to fly out pretty early and then struck out Miles Bailey. He is rolling right now against Hyannis.
That's the 9th K of the day for Brewster. Velasquez chops this to his third base coach, Mitch Carricker, who makes the bare-handed pick on the bouncer. Kudos to Coach with no mitt.
I must have stung a little bit. He didn't even make a face. He just wore that one in the palm.
Nerves of steel from Mitch Carricker. Always got to look alive along the base paths, even if you're outside the lines. Wimbush misses low. And for Brewster, this would be a reversal of a horrid recent stretch. 3 games, a couple of 6-2 losses in a row with a 3-0 shutout against YD 3 days ago. And Wimbush is down.
And one of those losses to Katuitt, who's dead last right now in the East. And when we were talking to the broadcast crew for Brewster, they kind of said if that kind of loss doesn't spark something in the eyes of this team, that they're not really sure what will. And it really sparked something. They have had a phenomenal day on both sides.
Velasquez levels the count. And this is a Brewster team that hasn't had its best day at the plate either. They stranded 9 runners and still have that 4-1 lead.
The big number I'm looking at, though, 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That is just under the number that Hyannis has allowed at home. I believe that number 355 through their couple of home games. So they haven't necessarily hit the best, but they've still hit when they need to. That's what baseball can come down to.
Wimbush looking for that final out. Deuces are wild here in the bottom of the 8th. Velasquez wisely lays off it. Loaded.
That's one of those really good takes that we were talking about a moment ago with Miles Bailey. Started over the heart, but Velasquez must have noticed it wasn't going end over end because he hitched and then stopped. He was able to keep that to just a mild check swing.
Can Velasquez get to base a third time in a row? Swing and a miss. Wimbush sends him down in order. Head to the ninth. Brewster ahead by 3.
When it comes to delicious food, the best place to start is with great appliances. And Cam Appliances is your one-stop shop for any budget with brands like Thermador, Viking, Bosch, GE, and so much more. Cam Appliances, sales, delivery, installation, and service in the heart of your home with locations in Hyannis, Nantucket, and Hanover.
If you need to dig, lift, move, grade, clear, or cut, pump, weld, clean, light, and just about anything else, dial up the rental source for the newest and the most reliable equipment in New England. Staffed with equipment and construction experts, Milton Rents, your local source.
Just 3 outs remain on either side. Brewster clings to a 4-1 lead over Hyannis. And in a season where closers have come by committee for Mitch Carricker, here's another one of those members. It's Tommy O'Rourke in to pitch for Max Stammel, who sets up in the 8th, 3 up and 3 down. And now O'Rourke comes in for a 4th time this season. Just completed his time at Vanderbilt, the graduate student from Morristown, New Jersey. Last came in on Sunday, so a bit of short rest in between. He's got an off day wedged between starts. Just went an inning, allowed only 1 hit, and punched out 3 anglers as he closed out the game and got his 2nd save of the season. And now O'Rourke, Max, tasked with getting the bats up again in the bottom half of the frame.
And what's so important is that he has a 1-2-3 inning here. Obviously, Hyannis didn't do anything in the 8th, but getting the momentum back in your favor any way you can is what Coach Carricker is looking out of a closer-type role, even though Hyannis is trailing this game 4-1.
It'll be 2, 3, and 4 up for Brewster, beginning with Dalton Wentz and then giving way to Daniel Cuvée and Blake Sear, all 3 of whom are dangerous hitters. But the latter of whom, in Blake Sear, is the most dangerous of the 3, at least in this game. Listen to this stat line. A RBI double in the 1st, a flyout in the 3rd, that's the lone blemish. He walked and then scored a run in the top of the 5th, and then in the 7th, roped a double into right center field, and Alex Sosa brought him a home for Brewster's 4th run. And he's due up to face O'Rourke. And hopefully for the Hyannis pitcher, it's for the 3rd out of the inning. Trying to keep Hyannis atop of the West as Brewster looks to stop a 3-game slide. Here's Dalton Wentz to start it off. And O'Rourke quickly down 1-0. O'Rourke's a Hyannis returner. Played here in 2022 after his first season at Stanford as Wentz is level. Just 7 games and 2 starts. He pitched in a playoff game for the Harbor Hawks. The West Division just shy of the playoffs, but Hyannis lost in a West Division clinching scenario to Bourne in the final game of the regular season in 2022. Wentz ropes this foul on the first base line.
And one of the reasons why Carricker might have O'Rourke in here when they're down by 3 and you need to get a quick inning back to the dugout is because of the mental toughness of the guy. You know, obviously missing 2-3 years at Stanford to injury, transferring to Vanderbilt, and being able to come back and then be your best self on Cape Cod, it's so impressive. And he's very mentally sound in a game that it's easy to let your emotions get the best of you.
And Wentz gets it all this time and keeps it fair. Takes a wide turnaround first. He'll get in. A good throw in right field from Williamson. It just bounces in late. And quickly, a double for Dalton Wentz to get aboard with no one out. This broadcast is a copyrighted production of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Any unauthorized duplication, retransmission, or other use is strictly prohibited. And now danger for Tommy O'Rourke with Daniel Cuvée at the plate. He belted 18 home runs for Miami a season ago. He's only scored 1 run today off an infield single in the first. And this a difficult out for Tommy O'Rourke.
It really is. No outs. Your first guy just mashed one to right field on a pitch that I'm sure he thought was pretty good.
Gets a Cuvée with a healthy cut there.
But that's a good response. Going to the high heater straight away. That is a challenge pitch, and that's a pitch that, in my mind, shows a little bit of confidence. You're going up against the best batter. Give him something that he could make contact with, but put it where you're confident that he won't make contact.
O'Rourke levels it. And Max, as you began to mention, O'Rourke's confidence is super strong after a difficult college baseball career. He missed his junior and senior year at Stanford with a lat injury. And Cuvée launches this one into center field. It brings Mira to the track. And throw to first, or third rather, will be well late as Wentz advances.
Very productive out. That's exactly what Cuvée and Brewster just in general were looking for. I'm sure that they would love to get this insurance run home and make it a 4-run game instead of 3.
And up comes Blake Sear. Infield is in. Everyone's got their toes on the infield grass as he hits it right up it, and that will allow Wentz to come home. Insurance for Brewster, courtesy of Blake Sear.
And that's the risk you take when you bring the infield in. Up the middle is one of those tricky spots out of the reach of McKay. And I guarantee you Carricker still would have done that 10 times out of 10.
Now it's opened up a 4-run advantage for Brewster. 3 outs away in the bottom half from erasing a 3-game skid. As they go neck and neck with the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox for first in the East Division. Here's Carson Kearse. Second baseman. Got a single in the 3rd, a walk in the 5th, a sac fly in the 7th, along with a K in the 1st. A couple of disengagements in a row for Tommy O'Rourke. No disengagement rule in college baseball, nor on the Cape. Pitchers can reset as many times as they please. O'Rourke with a nice breaking ball there, Max, that sends Kearse nearly down to a knee.
Yeah, right on right. We talked about that a little bit earlier today in the early innings. Started it down the middle. It looks so good, and then it just starts out of the zone. That's what's so difficult about those same-sided matchups.
O'Rourke trying to get to the bottom of the 9th. We're due up for Hyannis, Andrew Williamson, Vaughn Lackey, and Charlie Bates. Just 1 hit, or rather 2 hits between all 3 of those guys. Kearse goes ahead again. And for Tommy O'Rourke to continue to discuss these injuries and his more importantly his recovery from these injuries, to have that experience, Graham, and then to emerge from it and still be here playing baseball, it feels like a miracle.
Yeah, it's got to give him just kind of a little bit of an edge. You got a little bit of a chip on your shoulder because you know that you went through that. You know that you had the injury and that you were still able to come back a phenomenal player. I mean, to be pitching on the Cape, closing out a close game, speaks volumes to your ability.
3-1 loaded count to Carson Kearse. And O'Rourke followed that sentiment, saying before his season at Vanderbilt that it's an absolute blessing that he's here playing the game. Tim Corbin lauded his maturity, saying it's like having another coach on the team. Runner is off on 3-2, swing and a miss. Ball skips into right, and Sear takes off for third. O'Rourke gets the K, but a sixth run is 90 feet away for Brewster.
And it's all just kind of going from bad to worse for Hyannis. This has kind of been the ball game. Just small ball for Brewster. We talked about it for pretty much the entirety of the latter 3 innings now. But they've just found ways to get themselves over to third, found ways to get in scoring position. It hasn't been the prettiest, and a lot of it has, frankly, banked on a couple errors from Hyannis, just like that, throwing it out of the infield.
So here's Alex Sosa, a catcher. Got one RBI in the 7th inning on a single. Was hit by a pitch in the 5th, following 2 flyouts. First pitch to him gets away to the backstop, and Sear crosses. It's a 6th run for Brewster, a 2nd here in the 9th on O'Rourke's register.
And it's just all falling apart a little bit, piece by piece. This is, again, what happened in the last game against Brewster. It's like the Whitecaps just started to find things, and Hyannis couldn't respond, and the harder they tried to, the worse things went.
Wild pitch from O'Rourke. Tap towards third. It gets by Velasquez, and Brewster keeps pouring it on. The amount of 2-out rallies tonight, Graham, bring it up to 3, given the 2 runs here.
Yeah, I mean, we've said that they're the strongest kind around. The 2-out rallies, there's just something about them. It brings so much energy to a dugout. And Brewster, I mean, man, really a lot of respect to them for the way that they've responded after a 3-game skid, and a pretty ugly 3-game skid at that. They have looked phenomenal at McKeon Park tonight.
Colton Coates fouls off the first ball he sees. Another productive day for him at the plate as he's to the dish for a 5th time. A pair of singles and a pair of flyouts. And Sosa's single is 2nd in a row as he leads off at first. O'Rourke just trying to get out of this inning and give Hyannis some semblance of a chance. Harbor Hawks haven't erased a deficit nearly this high. As Coates fists it into left field. Walk gonna send it to the bottom of the 9th inning. O'Rourke allows 2 to cross for Brewster. Now it's up to the bats for Hyannis to get him back in. 3 outs remain here at McKeon.
When you need to dig, lift, move, cut, or just about anything else, then dial up the Rental Source staffed with equipment and construction experts. They'll help you get the right machine for the job and make sure it's delivered when and where you need it. With locations across New England and the newest and most reliable inventory, Milton Rents is your local source.
When I started teaching on the Cape 30 years ago, you could buy a house on a teacher's salary. But today, teachers, public safety officers, healthcare and hospitality workers, the people who make the Cape work, are struggling to find homes they can afford. And I really worry about the kids who will follow us. I think it's time we learn to do better.
If housing on Cape Cod matters to you, join us at capehousingmatters.org.
Just 3 outs remain for Hyannis to work its way out of a 6-1 Brewster Whitecap lead. A 3rd new pitcher atop the bump here for Jamie Shevchik in the bottom half of the frame as he turns to his left-hander rather. We can't quite find this number on the roster. It's Zach Bates, number 45. Getting my numbers confused. The Illinois Fighting Illini rising junior out of Columbia, Missouri. This is his 4th appearance of the summer, and he's coming off 4 2/3 innings pitched with 5 Ks so far on the young season here on the Cape. His last outing came on Sunday against Orleans, just 1 inning pitched, 1 hit. He allowed 2 runs, only 1 was earned, and a walk. And in 23 appearances at Illinois, he went for 28 2/3 innings with 34 Ks. A couple of strikeout arms in quick succession for Jamie Shevchik. Folks, only a half inning left, but don't go anywhere. We'll have our first ever live post game here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. So stick around as Max Schwartzberg and I will take you through the results of this game. We'll hear Graham Nash with Mitch Carricker, and barring a win, Ava Fernandez will have a player down by the dugout. So stick around for the Hawk Talk post-game show. And Graham, just 3 outs remained. It's going to be Williamson, Lackey, and Bates to the plate. Just one hit between those 3 guys.
Yeah, these 3 have really struggled. 1 hit, 4 strikeouts, but 2 walks. So that may be the silver lining for these 3, is that they have been able to get over to first, even though it hasn't been the prettiest for them. But man, Brewster coming into this inning with so much pitching confidence and momentum. The pitching staff for the Whitecaps have retired all of the last 7 batters for Hyannis in order.
So Camden Wimbish, the righty for Brewster, gives way now to Zach Bates, the lefty. Bates is the first lefty to toe the rubber for the Whitecaps tonight. And the lefty-on-lefty matchup here as Andrew Williamson digs in. Infield shifts him slightly to pull. Nearly hits him in the head as Sosa springs out of his crouch. Bates is a heavy fastball user at 92 miles per hour at top out. Goes to it 38% of the time. That sinker is second in that ranking at 30%. Not a pitch we see all too often from guys on the Cape. As he levels the count, a ball and a strike. So righty in the bullpen for Brewster, barring any trouble from Hyannis in this inning. 5-run cushion for the Whitecaps. Imagine 2-3 runs start to come across, and that's when things will get scary for Jamie Shevchik. Williamson in attack mode all the way, Graham.
He is, and he's got to be, especially since he doesn't have the favorable side to this matchup. Lefty v. lefty. It is a smart time for the Whitecaps to bring in their first lefty arm of the game. You got Williamson batting in that lefty box. You've got Bates coming up in that lefty box. Brody Briggs, if one of Williamson, Lackey, and Bates is able to get on. So a lefty-heavy part of the batting order. Very smart choice.
Breaking ball just high. And Bates, Max, led the team with 8 saves. So this is a guy that you trust if you're Jamie Shevchik to shut guys down quick.
Yeah, and he's comfortable in this situation. Of course, not a safe situation because it's more than 3 runs, but closing the door is something that he's not used to.
Tries to slam it shut on Williamson and misses low. Well, a walk is as good as anything here. With Vaughn Lackey due up, Bates to follow him. My dad always used to say walks equal runs. And Hyannis needs 5 of them here in the 9th. And that's exactly what Williamson does. Man aboard for Lackey. Got his first hit in 9 days. Last time to the dish.
That's 7 walks on the day for Hyannis batters. They've done a really good job of getting on base despite only having 3 hits in the ball game. That's what it comes down to. That's how they've created so many chances. Second of the day for Williamson, and he was the one run that actually came around and scored all the way back in the 2nd inning. So Hyannis looking for a very similar result here from him.
And Bates unfettered by the base runner, at least to start. For Lackey, it's been a resurgent day in one where he's now able to focus solely on his at-bats after alternating games behind the dish with Brody Briggs. Slices it foul. And DHing, Max, as we talked about ad nauseum in this game, can be that resurgent experience for a struggling hitter.
And it only takes one. You finally feel like you get your swing back, and all of a sudden the confidence flows back in. You start seeing the ball a little bigger. And look out, Lackey's going to be dangerous.
Wasn't quite seeing beach balls like Ryan McKay. But a good take there. Brewster 3 outs away from snapping a 3-game slide, while Hyannis would suffer its first loss since this past Friday against Wareham. And Lackey stays alive. And if Hyannis is unable to score in this inning, it'd be the least amount of runs that the Harbor Hawks have been, the least amount of runs they've been held to this year as Lackey strikes out, and Brewster's 2 outs away from making that a reality.
Such a good breaking ball that time. Lackey right through it, but still, that double from him, that is going to be the silver lining. Maybe leaving with a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth with that strikeout, his second of the ball game, but still, it's got to feel good for him to know that he finally got that hit and that extra base hit that he was being held from.
Charlie Bates takes a first pitch breaking ball. And Bates, someone that started out hot, struggled through the stretch of the season, again, playing only sporadically, and picked it up yesterday at Falmouth. He's yet to reach today, and a fastball clips the outer corner for Bates.
That last out, the biggest for Zach Bates on the mound, the one righty that he was due up to face. Again, Brody Briggs, a lefty. So at this point, it looks like he's got 2 lefties coming to the dish.
Bates nearly takes one off the dome. If you're Bates, you cannot let this get to McKay, who leads off, led off for Hyannis tonight. And he's had an uncharacteristic slow day at the plate. That leadoff double, but 0 for 3 since then. That's not for another 2 batters, excluding Bates, who strikes out.
That's now 12 strikeouts for Hyannis batters, following 8 yesterday. So 20 in the last almost 18 innings. Kind of uncharacteristic of what we've seen earlier in the season, and I guess representative of the slow offensive day.
Last hope for the Harbor Hawks is Brody Briggs, and this a situation he loves. The average is low to start this summer, batting under 100 to this point in the season. But he's delivered in big situations like this before. And he's ahead early, as in Chatham on June 17th, very similar situation, not quite down by as many, but he worked a crucial walk in the 9th inning with 2 outs and 2 strikes against him to extend the inning for Ryan McKay's game-tying reached-on error. Also had a single in that game. Checks a foul ball into the netting.
He's good at this. He's good at staying alive, staying in counts. They haven't translated to hits, which has got to be the most frustrating part for him, but does have a walk in this ball game, his first time over to first base in a couple games. So he can stay in a count as long as anyone out there.
Slices it foul. Playable for Coates for the moment. And now it finds the bush. A strike away for Zach Bates to give Brewster its first win in the last 3 games. Brewster's last win on June 20th was a 14-0 rout of Bourne. Football score. And the Whitecaps trying to find some momentum, as the 2-time Cape League champions didn't win a game in the final 17 days of the summer in 2024. 1-2 to Briggs is called strike 3, and that ends the slide for Brewster. It's a 6-1 Whitecaps win at McKeon Park, and Brewster's won its first game in 5 days. And meanwhile for Hyannis, it ends a 3-game win streak. So the Harbor Hawks will stay atop the West Division, Max, but they do drop a game in unceremonious fashion.
And kind of paradoxical the way the Harbor Hawks have been playing at home this season, now 2-3, perfect on the road with that one tie. But tonight, Gio, it really came down to the strikeouts for the Hyannis batting staff. And I think the last inning kind of represents the night. They got the side was struck out. Same thing happened to open the game after that Ryan McKay double. Just not a lot of putting the ball in play, which isn't going to bode well.
Strike out the side. Zach Bates, the only lefty to toe the rubber for Jamie Shevchik in this game, takes care of business in the final frame and ends a 6-1 win. You see the 13 hits there from Brewster. Prolific stuff from the Whitecaps. Just one error in the field for a team that committed 8 in the last 3 games, and they have snapped the losing streak. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to take a quick break and then bring you the first live postgame show on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. It's the Hawk Talk postgame show after this. Stay tuned, folks.
Here at the Mass State Lottery, we're known for our monster wins. But there's no bigger win than the $1 billion we provide each year to support all 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. In our game, we know that supporting local businesses and helping communities is how we all win. Because at the lottery, we're all playing for the home team. The Mass State Lottery. Welcome to the state of winning.
Welcome you back to the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. As we said, it's our first ever live post-game show, Hawk Talk, coming to you live from the broadcast booth and beyond here at McKeon Park after Hyannis falls to Brewster 6-1. It's third home loss of the season. It's third loss of the entire summer. All of them have come at McKeon Park, Max, as Giovanni Collado with Max Schwartzberg here. That's the amount of games, folks, that Hyannis dropped in all of last season here at home, and now already 3 through just 5 games.
Well, you know what they usually say? They say play great baseball at home, play 500 ball on the road. Maybe it's inverse this year, and that could work to Hyannis' advantage later in the season, of course, when they're going to be on the road in the playoffs. But at this point in the year, you know, it's still early, although we are officially 1/4 into the season. It's about winning baseball games and being proud of the wins you've had. And this is a Hyannis team. At the end of the day, they have a lot to be excited about. They're still first place in the West. The offense today was pretty slow, but the pitching, the strikeouts remain high, Gio. So, you know, yes, it's frustrating that the home experience hasn't been as prevalent for the Harbor Hawks, but again, we're 1/4 into the season. I don't expect this to continue. I do expect them to continue playing good baseball, though.
6-3-1, a fine record through 10 games. Of course, the 10-game intervals, Max, are the most often and rather most frequent checkpoints of the Cape Cod Baseball League season. What's your analysis of Hyannis' record beyond the numbers through that first 10-game mark?
Well, the thing that impresses me the most is the composure and the cohesion of these guys. I know we sound like broken records, but guys, chemistry is so important on the baseball field. This is a team sport for a reason. And the way that these guys have meshed and glued together on day one has really impressed me. The way that guys are coming, guys are going, they still bear farewells and they welcome newcomers. And it's been really encouraging to see that with the Harbor Hawks this season. And I think that's a big reason, Gio, why we've seen so many wins, because the Harbor Hawks are playing for each other because they love it. And that's one of the coolest things about summer baseball, the way that these guys come from all throughout the country, come together for one summer, become best friends, mesh well, and play great baseball.
And who said the Cape is somewhat lax compared to college baseball? They bring that energy and passion at night in and night out, folks. We've got a jam-packed show for you today on the first ever live Hawk Talk here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. We'll hear from Graham Nash, who's with manager Mitch Carricker after a third loss this season. But Max, let's start to unpack tonight's game against Brewster. Hyannis drops both games at home against the Whitecaps. It was a closer score last time when they fell to Brewster 3-2 on Monday, June 16th. And tonight, the Whitecaps explode for 6 runs.
Well, it seems like the momentum just got out of Hyannis' hand, and that stemmed from those middle innings that were just nothing going for the Harbor Hawks. And I think something that's important, Gio, moving forward is that when the Harbor Hawks have a hot start or their pitching is doing well but the bats are not doing well, they have to stay mentally locked in on the game, because the game was not over until it really just got away with them in the last couple of innings. Then it was almost as if, not that they gave up, but it seems like that fire, that passion was just kind of left from the ballpark. And that's not – we didn't see that last Monday against Brewster, because that was the 3-2 final score. But for the Harbor Hawks, it remains staying locked in on pitching, but continuing to have those at-bats that are for each other, not trying to hit the 2-run home run with nobody on base.
And we'll hold that thought, Max. We'll continue it after a live interview with Graham Nash and manager Mitch Carricker.
Thank you so much, Gio. Coach, I want to start with the pitching staff. 6 runs put up by Brewster, but still, the pitching stranded 11. What are you proudest of about this group's performance tonight?
Well, I mean, I think they did a good job of minimizing when they could. We still gave up a lot of hits, a few too many free bases. So, for the most part, they did all right, but there's still a lot we need to clean up.
On the batting side, 20 strikeouts over the past 2 games combined for the lineup. And in the middle innings, it felt like things just kind of went cold. What did you see from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they pitched really well. I mean, they had a really good staff, and they executed pitches a little bit better than we did tonight. And just one of those nights where we just couldn't get anything going.
Talk about Brody Briggs. He had a phenomenal performance behind the plate, cutting down 2 batters. How important is he going to be, especially with Von Lackey heading out soon?
Yeah, it's going to be crucial. I think that position's really important, more so on the defensive side than on the offensive side. If they can catch as good as they've been catching, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Guys?
Thank you, Graham. Wonderful first live interview here on the Harbor Hawks Baseball Network. Giovanni Collada and Max Schwartzberg with you in the broadcast booth. We'll bring tonight's show to an end with the Hawk Talk postgame show. And Max, let's start off with one of the first things that Coach said, that a few too many free passes were dished out to Brewster Whitecaps batters. Only 5 walks, but the Whitecaps made it count, and that results in the score.
Well, the Whitecaps, in terms of leaving guys on base, that did not happen at the clip for Hyannis. But Hyannis also only left 7 on base tonight, but that was largely because they just weren't putting the balls in play. A lot of strikeouts for the hitters, but at the end of the day, the free passes proved costly, especially in those later innings, the 8th and the 9th, when it seemed like the momentum was taken.
And Max, the other thing with that is the momentum swiped right out of their hands. Hyannis hitting couldn't respond, even if it wanted to. It struck out the side in the 9th, the lefty Zach Bates for Brewster. Hyannis struck out 13 times. That is the most it's done that all season long. What's got to change at the plate for the Hawks?
Well, I think it all starts with the approach. Of course, the approach is different when there's nobody on base. The Harbor Hawks, they just did not have that many base runners today, but when the base runners do get on base, that's where you're thinking about situational, dropping a bunt maybe. Ground ball right side moves the runner over. But they didn't have a lot of that tonight because of all the 1, 2, 3 innings. So with that, it starts with getting on base. What does that look like? Not expanding the zone, taking walks when you get them, and just, staying true to your approach. not trying to pull a home run on the outside part of the plate and take it the other way. I thought that Von Lackey at bat was very impressive because that was a fastball away that he took the other way for that double, his first hit in 9 days, as you mentioned, Gio. And that was a big pivotal point in that game where if the Harbor Hawks were to convert on that, you could feel the momentum swing way back in their favor, but they just unfortunately weren't able to do that. And I think the big key is when there's not that many guys on base, it's all about just getting on base and putting yourself in the position to be able to get those runners across.
We said walks equal runs in the bottom of the ninth. That's exactly what Andrew Williamson did to start it off, but then the side goes down swinging. And credit Brewster Whitecaps pitching. That 13 strikeouts number, also a season high for them as they snap a 3-game slide. And an off day, perhaps the best thing that any team could get after a loss like this, where it's uncharacteristic. Some of the things that went the Harbor Hawks' way in earlier games this year did not go their way tonight. How does Hyannis take this off day into a road game at Orleans and recuperate?
Well, after the off days so far, they've had 2 opportunities, 2-0. You know what they say, an off day a day keeps the doctor away. Hyannis takes the one against Bourne, 3 runs in that first inning. And then yesterday they took it against Falmouth, 2 runs in the first inning. So it all starts with a hot start, Gio. Getting the offense back to firing on all cylinders is going to be so important for this Hyannis off day. Or Hyannis after the off day, because it seems like these players just need their composure. You know, it's hot. It's a long season. We're already 10 games in, I don't know, like 15 days into the season. So the ability to just rest tomorrow, and we've talked about it before the show, these 2 off days in a week, they're going to become increasingly more rare. So this is an opportunity for Hyannis to really take advantage of that, recuperate, and then come back strong, pitch well. They've been doing it all season long, and get the bats going.
A day at the beach may just be what Hyannis needs to get back in the win column. We'll see you on Friday at Orleans, live from Eldridge Park at 6 o'clock. Folks, for myself, Giovanni Collada, for Max Schwartzberg, for our entire crew of Charlie Adams, Daniel Bottolino, and Sam Montag, for our wonderful sideline reporters, Ava Fernandez and Ethan Wax. For Graham Nash, we interviewed Coach just a few moments ago. We're saying so long and good night. Thank you very much for joining us.
I think, Dean, they're allowing you to find your own success and your own true independence.
Dean is a whole group of all different kinds of people and communities.
Since I've come to Dean, I've learned a lot of time management skills.
Our community is especially tight-knit, and the majority of our students live on campus. And you are guaranteed 4 years of housing while you attend Dean.
Dean is just full of opportunities for you to embrace, to welcome, so you can change yourself to who you want to be and form your career for the future.
So go through that, all right? Think that way.
Be a bulldog. Have a bulldog mentality in everything you do in life, whether you're playing sports or in the classroom or just socializing around campus.
When it comes to delicious food, the best place to start is with great appliances. And Cam Appliances is your one-stop shop for any budget with brands like Thermador, Viking, Bosch, GE, and so much more. Cam Appliances, sales, delivery, installation, and service in the heart of your home with locations in Hyannis, Nantucket, and Hanover.